region. Now we have Heroic going up against them. I couldn't pick, honestly, who's going to win that series. They both look pretty level up, but maybe you guys have a different opinion.
Well, I was thinking that maybe because, you know, they were able to do the trialing, the switch up, that they're able to adapt like that you might have given them the slight advantage. But if you're not convinced just yet, there is someone who might be able to convince you with some more information, some more facts, and that is none other than Purge himself.
Thanks. I don't have much opinion on the Aurora series because that one is very up in the air, but the tri-lane is actually what I wanted to focus on from the last game because it used to be a very normal staple for Dota that you'd use 2 heroes to cover your carry. Now that's not really the case, but because of the fact that Viper is good at killing carries by himself or with an ally, they decided to tri-lane against it to help lessen the impact of Viper against the enemy carries. So basically at all times, these guys are looking for a hero to be slightly out of position because if he is, it's much, much easier to kill him because you have 3 heroes instead of 2. You have more disable and you have more damage. Schofield here finding a moment where they can get a lot of good harass in on Luna, for example. What this translates to eventually is a couple more pokes where nobody dies and everyone just gets a little bit less experience in gold. You know, nobody's really happy. And eventually they do actually find Luna for a kill. So they just did a little rundown. The other downside to tri-lanes is that the experience is split very evenly. Because they're always standing near each other, there isn't as much time to pull, there's more heroes to body block lanes. So what happens in this first rotation for Divine Llama is he's only level 4. This is really abnormal for a Viper. Normally when you're kind of like the tankiest, strongest hero on the map for the early game. But because he did this rotation, which he kind of needed to do to protect Hector, but he was underleveled, he was actually quite easy to kill, all things considered. He also went for a second greedy point of Nether Tox and increased his farm speed because his lane started going well, but then he's more vulnerable to dying because he doesn't have any more corrosive skin. So here we are, almost 10 minutes. He's only level 6. He does have decent net worth. They end up getting a kill on this Kunkka, but the problem is that the same thing kind of happens again. He rotates mid to slow down this push. He gets pressured and ganked. Again, he's only level 7. He puts his spells into Tiny, who has a shield rune. That gets completely offset. So Divine Llama basically gets put behind. So all things considered, I think Beast Ghost did a great job with their tri-lane. They limited the deaths to the Luna. They made sure that Viper's rotations were just kind of underwhelming, maybe more Divine Llama's mistake, and then they got a gold advantage. But after that, it really was a game of initiation, and that's kind of where Beast Coast was failing, because they didn't compound that advantage that they created through the laning stage. So it was close, but Heroic was just better.
Heroic was just better to close that one out. It's nice to know, though, tri-lanes can still exist, even though it's, you know, like a 0.001% chance of ever actually,
Viper.
of ever actually appearing because of how situational it is. It's that our players are still thinking about it. We're always wondering, how is Dota developing? How is it adapting? But here at the Road to the International, there's a lot of things happening all at once. And one of my favorite things about it is our short film contest. We do have another entry to show you guys. It is called Dump and Dump.
Come again!
What's this do?
Let's find out.
That was a fantastic short film right there. And I do like the Jenkins cameo as well, the 0-15 Pudge.
I am going to ignore that comment there and say that I think the 3 funniest heroes in Dota are Ogre, Sniper, and Ogre again.
He does have two heads.
I think those are the funniest heroes in Dota. Anytime I see them in my games, I'm thinking, please, can somebody abandon within the first 5 minutes? I don't want to play this. If they're on the enemy side, they get the facet that makes it so they don't have level 1 or they get level 3 at level 2. And then level 1, they're completely useless.
I feel like you started this sentence and you didn't know where it was going and you kind of just kept going and going.
That's how I start every sentence.
That's also how I start every sentence. And normally something about segueing to the actual topic we want to talk about comes to my mind. It doesn't right now, so let's just do it really jarring. Spirit up against G2IG. That's our second series of the day. That's right. Despite us being here for quite some time, we are only on our second series out of 4. It's another elimination best of 3 and a team that people did not expect to be here in the first round of the lower bracket. That's G2IG is the team I'm talking about. People would not expect to be down here, Winter.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a rough tournament so far. I think throughout the years, you look at their results, they've been like up and down, inconsistent. They've been running different heroes. They have a lot of different heroes that they are picking. But at the same time, you know, when you talk about a team having a lot of heroes, sometimes it's not exactly a good thing, you know. Sometimes it might just mean that they don't know what's working, so they're picking a lot of different heroes. Whereas for Team Spirit, they kind of know what they want to pick. They don't really pick as many heroes as G2IG, but they know what they want, you know. Maybe sometimes it doesn't work, you know, like we saw in their first BO3 series. It didn't work, but it worked in the group stages.
Yeah. Up until when you were talking about heroes, you could almost describe Spirit in the same way. You know, G2IG and Spirit, they're facing off down here in the lower bracket for two very similar reasons. They are having mixed results. These two teams have not felt consistent at all throughout the year. Despite Spirit being able to win a tournament earlier in the competitive year of Dota, G2IG still kind of looking at that one for themselves. They're not continuing it through onto the next event, and it shows here for the road to the international. One day these teams are turning up. The next year, unfortunately, it's just not theirs. But which team do you expect to show up today on the day that really matters to make it to the main event?
I mean, if we're looking at historical data, it has to be Team Spirit here. This is a team that has proven many times and many times over that they can adapt to whatever teams throw at them for the most part. Sure, they'll have their usually early on in the year slump, but typically they pick it up towards the end of the year. And I look at all the players on the team, it's no surprise either because all these players are very flexible. They can make adjustments if necessary, and they typically do so. And I think against their previous losses here, they learned a lot about themselves and what they're lacking, and I'm expecting them to come out swinging here. Where a team like G2IG, this is a team that just has been struggling just all over the place, I feel like, and they haven't even found a style that I have been overly impressed with. I do think they need to get Nothing to Say a bit more active on this team, making plays across the map. He's the guy I'm looking at for sure if you want to have some success here on G2.
Before we jump into this draft and talk more about it, I know that it is happening on our screens right now. It's an elimination, best of 3, to remind everyone how these two teams came down to this lower bracket being in the first round. It was Spirit, unfortunately, falling 0-2 to Nouns. G2IG themselves going very close in a series against Gaming Gladiators and just losing out, going 1-2 there. And so this is it, the first round, going up against each other, and already quite a different variety in this first phase bans, and G2IG with the opener of Primal Jenkins.
Yeah, this is expected that we have this variety. I mean, both of these teams haven't played in a while, and, you know, one issue for Spirit, I would say, on this patch is that it is not a Magnus patch, and anytime it is a Magnus patch, Spirit is god tier. Anytime it's not a Magnus patch, they're usually good, but it's a question mark. However, in the last 3 days, the meta has developed, and for example, Mars is a very popular hero now, and people are picking it earlier and earlier. So I really could see Spirit picking Collapse, something like that. I remember in the months like prior to TI, you know, even around Riyadh, people were talking about Collapse as like this guy is at his peak performance right now, and so I don't know how much that holds up to this TI. Maybe he's in a slump. It happens, but he needs his hero pool. Like if he can get in it, if he can get his heroes and he's at his peak, then I think that's when Spirit looks like this TI winning Spirit.
I don't think you can kind of single it out on one person. You know, when they didn't do so well in the last series, I felt like the issue the team is having right now, it's not even just about the hero pool or whatever the meta is, whether it's suitable for collapse. You know, I feel like it's more about how they view the game as a whole, how they view the meta, because they've been picking Tinker and Mirana. Not every team has been really utilizing Tinker and Mirana as a carry. So I feel like maybe it has more to do with the way they view the meta instead of just having like heroes that are good in the meta that they really like to play. And I hope that they've already made the adjustments, because so far we didn't really like a lot of the games that, at least for me, you know, for the Mirana being played as a carry, I felt like the hero probably feels a lot better on a support role, you know, not on the carry role.
The stats do back you up with that, by the way. This Mirana is being flexed between a 1 and a 4. In the 17 matches she's played as a carry, it's a 47% win rate, so just under half. Whereas in the 10 matches as a support position 4, it's an 80% win rate. So it's a massive jump.
Those are great stats to hear, because anecdotally, I feel like that's what we've
Yes,
seen on, at least in the games that we're watching on this morning panel, is that it seems to be a very excellent support. And as a carry, it's like, oh, she's going in doing damage, 50% HP, 1 Lucent Beam from Luna, she's done. Which, by the way, G2XIG banned the Morphling out, so maybe there's, especially with the Mirana pick, maybe they want to pick up the Luna here.
Yeah, we'll see. I think this Mirana pick comes in just when we wanted it to. It can be played on both roles. That is why it's strong. I would be very hesitant and really consider the other options before putting on carry. Whereas in position 4, I think you just throw it out there. It's fine. It can work with a lot of different heroes. We talked about Collapse Mars being a hero that's in the pool right now. I mean, Collapse has really enjoyed his Sand Kings right now. Kunkka's been very popular, Doom. So all those heroes are actually banned out this game. So that does give us more potential for heroes like, I'm going to say it again, really enjoy Beastmaster against Train Protector. That's something that they could pull out here as well.
Yeah, even a Beast Mirana lane sounds very strong.
Yeah, it's good.
It.
It's definitely, Beast Mirana is definitely better than, I think, Mars Mirana versus Train specifically.
I'll give you a little bit more of an update about this Mirana too. I've just been, perusing while I've been talking about it and waiting for this draft to have a couple more picks. Yutoro, or Radon, is one of he plays it the most. Okay, so only one other person plays it more than him. Saksa on Tundra, the position 4. He's had 5 games on it. Yutoro himself has had 4, and no one else on Team Spirit has picked it up. So every time they've picked it up, it's always gone to Yutoro. It's always been in that carry. And the only other person who's played it more than him is a support.
And he's won 3 of those games.
3 and 1, yeah, respectable.
They are winning with it.
I was trying to skew the data to, be more favorable towards my narrative, but thank you for your...
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Didn't mean to ruin that one for you. Let's strike that from the record and let's move forward here. Phoenix coming out. This is a hero that used to be incredibly popular with Train Protector. It does give you that protection against the egg. Typically, you want to pop your BKBs or whatever it might be, kill the egg. Hasn't been as good lately just because there's so many things that can dispel root nowadays, and every hero has their go-to item to do so. But either way, Train Protector with Primal Beast. Primal, same story. You can also disable people through BKB. It's a good Phoenix game. That's what I'm getting at here. I do like the pick there. Collapse, he'll go for his Mars. Works really well with Mirana, whether it's a support or a carry. You want that lockdown. And I think for even Mirana carry, this is really nice to have on your team, because the biggest issue you do have is you don't really have lockdown. You're not going to just throw a stun randomly, hit them, and then kill them yourself. You want someone to drop that big team fight ultimate on the ground there, and you will be able to get some right clicks off.
But we also had like this conversation about when you have a Mirana on your team, maybe even a carry or support, you want more range heroes on your team to abuse the solar flare, right? You don't really want to just have like Mirana alone as your lone hero that abuses the solar flare. Do you think that's a legit concern when you're picking this hero as a carry?
Yeah, you definitely want to pair some heroes with it, but I feel like you still need that one guy who gets in there and drops like that big team fight ultimate down.
Yeah.
I think looking at the next couple picks, they're probably thinking, what other heroes can use this? That comes from either a support position, mid position, or even a carry position if they want to put it on a support role.
I would love to see Mira Snapfire insta-kill the egg, and okay, they go for the Invoker. I thought maybe that they would pick that, but possibly there were a few more options for Laurel, so maybe they would let it through until the last pick.
I mean, this hero right-clicks a lot in this patch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Often seeing the Witchblade being picked up on him, and just lots of right-clicking on this build. It's pretty funny. Invoker used to be like the spellcaster, sit in the back, do tons of damage with your spells, come back, And then now it's more of like, I'm just going to press Cold Snap and Alacrity and just right-click you to death.
He's also kind of like a hybrid. I think in the early game, you do more with your spells, especially against certain heroes, like those strength heroes that have very low mana pool. They rely a lot on their mana, like Primal Beast. Those heroes are oftentimes very, very weak against Invoker in the early game, before even you get to the point where you can abuse the Solar Flare.
I mean, what I like about it and why I was thinking about it is because it's a Manta buyer. Like now people go Manta on Invoker. It's a universal hero, so you really benefit from the stats. And that means the Treant ult plus the Phoenix ult. You Manta out of that, kill the egg with Alacrity. And also, I'm fairly sure Primal is not so good against Invoker in the game. You have all this ground targeted like BS that you don't want to run into. Invoker can Cold Snap to interrupt the Primal
grab.
ult. Like it's just a lot of disruption like on the ground for a Primal to get in there. Like he can actually die to this hero.
We haven't seen Spirit, by the way, play since they lost their seeding match against Nouns. And in that best of 3,
They had, you're going to say they had Tree Luna, right?
yes, Nouns had Luna. It was actually just Luna. It wasn't going to be the Treant. I actually wasn't even going to mention the Treant. But I'm
okay.
so glad you brought up Treant here because I actually really wanted to talk about the Treant and not the Luna. No, yes, they let through the Luna. And that was just something that they couldn't really deal with. So now I'm wondering why that wasn't somewhere in their bans and what makes them more comfortable or confident about these 4 heroes they've currently picked or potentially a last 5th pick that could deal with this Lunar and not end in the same result.
I think I feel like they feel like the Mirana is just a stronger, superior carry in the late game if they were to go down that route. That's probably my reasoning. I'm not saying I agree to it, but I think that's probably what they felt in the late game. Because when you talk about late game, what heroes can out DPS Luna and can also close the distance as well. Because we've always talked about the Kanda way of playing the hero. You stay behind, you just throw Lucent Beams, use the Kanda, do damage.
Yeah.
You're not really committing, right? So you need a core that can just jump in and force her to go into that 1v1 scenario that she has to fight and she can't run away.
You almost made me believe there wasn't a Tree Luna in both those games. And,
There was.
Okay, yeah.
I just wasn't. I just know that you were going to make a comment if I had brought up the Treant, so I was only going to bring up Luna.
I mean, yeah, it looks like G2XIG featuring the legendary Jack Chan KBBQ does think
Must be.
that a carry is going to be coming out from Team Spirit, and Radon has not played it yet in the tournament, but Wind Ranger is still in the pool.
He's played Drow, right? I think that Drow plus Mirana kind of. I don't remember which game I saw this combination here. Drow Mirana, it actually looks good.
Yeah, the Mirana definitely.
You do so much damage as
Was
the
that an
Drow.
XG game?
Was it?
Radon has not played Drow this tournament, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
I do
they've.
know Ame. I know Ame has.
I'm sure they've watched. I'm sure they've seen the combo. And what they've also probably seen is the fact that people have comboed Wind Ranger with the Mars and the Invoker before. We saw Tundra do that, and it looked incredible, just like buffing up the... And I think they might have even had a Marana to
They did.
to add to the damage from the Whirlwind. That is one...
Actually, this is the exact 4 that they had.
No way, you're kidding.
Yeah, off the top of my head, 100%. It was a group stage game. I'll pull up the game.
The
for you.
Tusk might have been different, but this is also good with the Windrunner because it's also a buffing hero. It's not like he's going to go for the tag team or something, but you're still buffing the Windrunner to get in there.
Epic Morph. That's banned, so just kidding. Fake news.
I mean, I guess Winter, you brought it up. The Windrunner is not so good against the Phoenix because you disarm yourself when you're doing Whirlwind and you can't kill the...
I don't think they want that. If you want to carry, it's like Terrorblade, and you bring back Radon's like redemption arc here, but he's just going to stick to the Marana. I think it's a sensible choice. You buy Manta, great for Treant Protector. You can kill the egg very easily. You have very high attack speed, the most attack speed of any hero in the game right now, so that makes sense. And couldn't really think of anything really better for him there. So Dark Willow, it will be. This is when, was it Mars first came out or Willow? I don't know which one came out first, but either way, when they both were in the game at the same time, it was like, wow, you can fear them into the arena, most OP combos. So it definitely does have some synergy as well.
Yep, even in the lane, you can like put
through the brambles, right?
Yeah, you can put a bramble on one person and then skewer them into another bramble, which is really nice. And at the very least, it does a massive amount of damage. And I think where we really like Willow right now is when you need a hero to get your offlaner through the first like 3 levels, which I do feel like Mars can sometimes suffer, especially against a strong lane like Treant plus Luna. There is that risk of just losing in like the first few levels to this lane, but the Willow will lose to pretty much nothing.
What's the timing that this Mars is going to feel a little bit more comfortable, where you have faith that the Spirit lineup is going to be able to come online and we're going to be seeing them take those team fights and potentially the game?
I mean, whenever they have Arena, I think they're pretty comfortable because you're going to be running around the map on Invoker at all times of the game trying to make things happen. You're just waiting for that Arena to drop, that snowball from Tusk to get in there, a lot of big spells there. Whereas I think you're a little bit more reliant on cooldowns on the side of G2IXG is the fact that you have to have Egg, you have to have Root available. So I'm really looking at the Wisdom Rune at 7 minutes specifically. Are they going to be able to get it? It would be really nice as Spirit to try and make a play to steal it early on because the supports are really level dependent on G2.
And what about the side of G2IG for yourself, Winter? I'm just assigning you guys teams to have to, give us hope for.
Yeah, I feel like G2IG's lineup, like Fia mentioned, they are very cooldown dependent, but I feel like they have a good overall lineup with decent lanes into. They have some catch outside of the cooldowns. They have Primal Beast, which is always good. And as long as they don't get run over in the lanes, I feel like they're going to have a very, very good chance in this game.
I like both
Thanks,
teams.
Jenkins. We've got to head on down to our coach, though. They are waiting by, and our game one is also waiting for us. So let's jump on down to Nomad.
Thank you very much, Nat. Yes, indeed, I'm here with Super. Firstly, Super, what do you think about these two drafts?
首先想问一下，你对两边选出的阵容有什么看法？
就我觉得两边都选到了比较舒服的阵容嘛，就还是看发挥吧。
I think both sides picked very in their comfort zone, so it depends on how they perform.
And this first pick, Primal Beast, is this something which you think is a very strong, underrated hero? Or is this a answer specifically to Team Spirit and how they play?
关于你们第一手选了兽，你是觉得这英雄非常强呢，还是针对Spirit 选出来的英雄？
就我们自己玩的顺手吧。
I think we're just good at it.
Alrighty, we'll see. As other team, are they excited or are they nervous to play against the two-time champions in an elimination game?
面对双冠王，你们队伍是紧张呢，还是兴奋呢？是什么样的感觉呢？
就反正大家在这里相遇，我觉得都差不多吧，跟他们头衔没什么关系吧。
I think that we're able to meet here. We're about the same. It really doesn't matter what title they have.
Awesome, very confident. Thank you very much, Super. Let's get into the cast with Cap and SVG.
3 years ago, back when Team Spirit was just a little underdog, they made a long lower bracket run to win the International. That started with them in the upper bracket losing to Invictus Gaming. They were put in the lower bracket, and in fact, Invictus Gaming met Spirit again in the lower bracket, and Team Spirit eliminated IG with a 2-0. 3 years later, this is the first time that they have met again at the International, and it's a chance for JT and Super to be able to have their revenge, to eliminate Team Spirit back at the TI.
It's going to be a tall order. I mean, they said they're not afraid of the two-time champs, but I think a lot of people would be in this situation. This is a scary lower bracket. Like, there are a lot of strong teams here. It's going to be a bloodbath no matter what. And to me, this could be a very pivotal match for the rest of how this bracket develops, because I could see either of these teams go very deep if they start to gain some really good momentum here. And especially if you're looking at Spirit, who had a much better start to this tournament than G2IG, who, I mean, the records speak for themselves, right? Team Spirit were 6-0 going into that upper bracket match before Nouns took them down. G2IG were a lot more hit or miss in terms of what was working for them and finding that momentum in this tournament. So this is going to be a really important game one and a really important series to determine who's going to have to face one of these teams later on if they make it past XG.
Yeah, G2IG have not looked great at this tournament until maybe that second game against Gaming Gladiators. Honestly, I was surprised. I thought that was going to be a 2-0, but Gaming Gladiators slipped up in that one. G2IG did manage to take that game too. Did that give you a bit of hope that G2IG was going to come into this lower bracket with a bit more fire than they showed in the group stage?
I do think they've looked better than their record shows in a way. Like, they haven't really been rolled over in any of the games. They've shown a decent amount of draft flexibility. It seems like their meta understanding is getting a little better each series they play. I think that gaming series was pretty close, but it's a tough matchup for them because G2IG is just not as fast on the lanes. It's not their strength, right? They play more of the traditional Chinese Dota, which is like the mid-game, the late-game team fighting, Roshan control, things like this, scaling up with a slower carry than a lot of the European players have. You're just not going to compare Monet to players like Dyrachyo or Mickey, right? It's not the same wheelhouse at all. And so for him to get a hero like Luna, I think is super important for them, because Luna is one of those heroes that, as we've seen this tournament develop, can not only give you a strong laning phase, play fast that early game, but can also just hyper farm up and play the late game really well and scale tremendously. So I think this is a great hero for Monet to be on in a game one in a series like this. And it's a hero, as the panel talked about, that was a bane for Team Spirit in that Nouns 2-0 defeat. They just could not break this hero. It really caused them problems. And I was curious to see how they were going to adjust their draft going into this series compared to that one, particularly for this man, Radon. I think he maybe not struggled in that series versus Nouns, but it felt like there was a lot of pressure on him in those games to deliver a lot in the team fights, particularly the game like the Lena, where he was just getting doomed and things of that nature. This is a lineup where they relieve some of that pressure with an Invoker semi-carry, a Mars who can pick up some of the damage slack. I think this looks a bit more comfortable for him.
And another player who's going to have a very different series compared to that one is Mira, right? Like, I think a fair number of people pointed out the Tinker repeat in that series, and just a general question of whether or not Team Spirit want to be playing such a passive defensive hero in that regard for Mira, right? I mean, this guy's a shot caller and a playmaker, and it definitely felt like Team Spirit were missing that bit in their lineup. And now that he's on a Dark Willow, perhaps Team Spirits will look a little bit more comfortable. This lanes have been pretty even. Nice use of the Drunken Buddies to make sure he gets away from that last couple of stomps there from JT. That could have been first blood. That is still on the table.
I think it does say something that Spirit went away from that Tinker. It didn't seem like a very comfortable hero for them. And when you're in these elimination games, as we are here, I mean, comfort adds up to a lot. Maybe you're deeper in this bracket, you can start to experiment a bit more, but this is like, let's just play our best Dota. Let's not worry about what the meta's doing too much or what the enemy team's gonna do. And I think both these drafts reflect it. I think Super touched on it as well. Like this Primal, I don't think Primal's some crazy broken hero here, but it is definitely in G2IG's wheelhouse for both their core players at NTS and JT. Like, both these guys are really good Primal players. It's been a very successful hero for a lot of the Chinese teams overall, and even historically. And I think this hero can do a lot of work in the current meta. It's a gap closer, it can get on top of these ranged carries, and it can just pierce you through the BKB. It's a huge damage threat. Could also see this Ags come on later. You can get some of the break mechanics going into the Mars. Used to be a counter in that regard. There's not a lot of BKB control in this Spirit lineup. Could be something that comes back to haunt them in the later team fights if you get a good BKB timing here between Primal, Luna, maybe Void Spirit wants it, but NTS could also just go, you know, Manta, Lincoln's type route, boost up the universal stats. It's a scary G2IG lineup in the late game, man. Like, you cannot underrate these three cores together with the amount of stats they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that that's a nice combination. To be able to have a strong BKB mid-game and then feel confident about your scaling late game. Because I know you're a big fan of the Void Spirit going late. We've seen tons of Primal Beasts from the previous patch where the Heart Blade Mail was all meta. It felt like this hero just did not fall off. The game just kept going later, and it felt like he just kept getting stronger with his Aghanim Scepter timing. Man, that Drunken Buddies. He is able to pull himself so far away. Now he still pulls Mira out of the danger from G2IG, and we're back to a tri-lane versus tri-lane, just like last series. Mira does manage to, he doesn't go for it. They pin the Treant, but he is stuck in the middle of the well. They couldn't immediately get some damage on him. Now that he pops back out, Collapse thinks about going for it, but he's not going to be able to get it. Mira, he is not going to survive this situation. Monet is the one to pick up first blood. A great start for the Luna.
These Luna tri-lanes, man, they are very strong. You do not want to mess with them, particularly this Treant Luna tri-lane. We saw it last series as well. This is like some really old school combination that you try and skirmish them early, you're going to run up against this brick wall, and your spells are generally not stronger in the early game. Collapse feeling the pressure.
Yeah, they got the kill on the support at top, and then the other support shows on mid. The three heroes here from G2IG say, this is free, we can dive. It doesn't turn out to be free, though, as Mira and Laurel counter-rotate and get one pick off, and look for a second one in X Nova. Slowed down by the Blood Grenade. He should die to Laurel and his hits. Now, double kill for him. Monet, with the Glaives, though, is getting some decent damage. Nothing to say comes in and tries to equalize the situation as Laurel pushes forward with the Ghost Walk, keeping Monet slowed down. Nothing to say. Didn't keep up with him. Maposhka might be able to take advantage of the shard. It pushed him away. They don't know where he is. He's out of sight. Now they spot him. Stuck in the corner. Monet, what a disaster for G2IG. Maybe Monet had a chance to get out, but the moment he's stuck on that corner, he's done.
Just a huge injection of gold for Laurel as well. Like picking up a lot of these backside kills, just going to propel him into a really strong early game here. He is top of the level board, top of the net worth chart, and they're going to split the Wisdom Runes. A nice turnaround from Spirit, bringing the numbers to try and relieve the pressure off this Mars that was looking to be really rough for Collapse. I mean, he's not necessarily happy about this exchange as the Mars here, but you'll take what you can get here for your Invoker Mirana.
And Laurel will find another kill to be part of. Boboka is trying to slow it down. The Shards is going to keep him in place. Now the Brambles goes out. X-Nova is only going to survive for so long, though. This gives an opportunity for Nothing to Say to cut in from behind. No punish whatsoever because there's no detection. They try to go for Maposhka instead, but I think they're just lacking in the disables. The Ghost Walk still slowing Nothing to Say down as Laurel will take advantage of the regen coming his way and be able to stay in lane.
Need the dust for the early Invoker skirmishes. Quasflex will punish you every time, and these are really important core kills to snag if G2IG are going to bring all the numbers to that kind of fight. The one missing component in all this has been the Primal. Like JT not in those early fights, which he's incredibly strong in these exchanges. Now he'll be the recipient of a gank.
Yeah, so much damage. My goodness. JT, the missing ingredient will stay missing.
This is turning into a very fast early game.
Yeah, Team Spirit are playing with some gusto, man. They got knocked down to the lower bracket, and they do not want a repeat of what happened at TI-11, right? They went from champions to last. They do not want to have that happen again.
This is the kind of pace I think shows some confidence from them and a bit of a change from what did not work in that previous series, which is, it was very passive, it was very farm heavy. This is them meeting G2IG at every point in this early game and securing Radon farm. That's the biggest factor. This Mirana, top of the board, top of the CS, and continuing to have kills set up for him.
Back-to-back deaths for JT as he's going to have to walk out to lane. What a great ward placed out.
Oh yeah.
Just outside the detection there.
Pure value right there. They're going to be able to go back to this time and time again if it does not get dewarded here. It's going to set up some scouting for these stacks as well that you might be able to contest. But this is just so much information for Laurel to play off of. And this Quasflex Invoker in the early game, if you have good information, you oftentimes can just outmaneuver enemies way too easily.
Especially with the blistering pace that Team Spirit is bringing to this game as another kill. 7 kills in 10 minutes. Team Spirit find another one in the top lane, not letting this Dream Protector just hang around. They don't even try and hit the objective too much. They just punish the heroes.
They are breaking down these lanes fast, and it doesn't feel like there's a good response here from G2IG. Especially with the Primal going down twice, it eliminates kind of your TP turnaround potential from JT. Opens up more of these dives for Team Spirit. You're the ones with the Invoker who can respond if you try and make an aggressive move on Radon on that bottom lane. Kind of have to go back to this Void Spirit and try and play through NTS, get something done of your own. This is a hero that, in theory, has a good matchup versus Invoker because you have the innate gap close and the setup spell. But what's the follow-up here? That's the big question as we progress into this kind of early mid-game. Let's say your Primal or your Void Spirit goes in, sets up a kill or a theoretical kill on this Invoker or Mirana. Phoenix Treant are not following that up with any sort of speed until at least maybe you have a lot more levels on the Phoenix with Sunray points and max Fire Spirits. They're going to try and make a quick play with the 2 highest damage heroes they have, which is this Phoenix Void Spirit combination. But it does feel like you're going to need a little more on top of this.
Team Spirit, once again, Division plays a key point. They see nobody's mid, see the rotation heading top, and if those heroes are heading top, it means bottom is free once again. Laurel, he exits out of that top lane, shows up to bottom lane to help Radon get a kill on JT.
Showing the strength of Invoker. Just the constant ability to set up stuff. Don't need a lot of numbers to do it, and he's going to go straight into the Mage Slayer, which is going to be a very obnoxious item for these 2 cores on the side of G2IG to play into. honestly, even versus the Luna, it's going to be valuable as this game progresses.
Do you think this means he's just going to be going like straight into a right-click build right away?
Yeah, probably. I mean, you have this Solar Flare to back you up. You have drinking buddies. Do you really want to even throw it on this Invoker in random fights? There's a lot to play around with for these two cores. And Tier 1 Tower, last hit to Radon. He is, well, Omega fat is one way to put it.
Yeah, he's a big boy. 7,200 net worth. Second place is the Mars at 5,400. This Luna is nowhere close to keep it up. What's going on here? And the way that Luna would usually catch up, one of those ways, right, is stacks. But if you've already taken the offlane tower, and the mid tower is on the chopping block here, you're going to lose control of your triangle, and those ancient stacks are the most valuable real estate you could have.
I feel like you have to defend this tower if you're G2IG. You have support ults up. These towers are really nice places to fight around with the tree, and the tree's got a little cleared out, but like, you have to make some kind of jump here.
Nothing to say is trying to make something happen here. The problem is the Team Spirit's playing pretty far back. It's hard for the Tree Protector and Phoenix to get in there. Same lack of like mobility. That's a problem with playing with the Primal Beast. Speaking of, JT arrives now, but no action.
I mean, this almost feels worse.
Yeah.
You didn't get a fight out of this tower. The tower's effectively dead. Team Spirit are going to try and make a play elsewhere on the map. They're looking for Monet on that top jungle area, but he is nowhere close. NTS connects again, but this is part of the problem. Like,
yikes.
What is your follow-up on these jumps? It's not too easy.
Nothing to say. Gonna have to burn through those 21 charges.
And now this smoke that went top looking for Monet, it's coming back towards mid. They're going to convert on this tower.
Yep, they get the tower. That smoke also placed a very deep ward at top, so maybe they didn't find the enemy carry like they were looking for, but they've got good vision to go back to later.
I mean, that's how you make a smoke valuable. Even if it misses, you still get some map control.
Yep.
They're even going to look to swing towards bottom. They are really committing to this map movement.
And a haste rune will make it a whole lot easier. And perhaps more profitable if anybody from G2IG sticks around, but JT is already retreating. And yeah, they're dodging the ganks right now. Nobody's dying in a little bit, but they are huddled around each other. They are playing super defensive right now, and that really only pays off if Team Spirit actually stumble into you, right? But if you're just sitting 5 heroes in one part of the map, surely that means you're being out efficient.
I mean, defensive plays can be an optimal play in Dota. There is something to be said about this G2IG lineup where if Team Spirit overcommit into the tree and Phoenix, it could be disaster for them, especially early before you have the big dispel items up. But Team Spirit, pretty disciplined here, right? Not overextending into that triangle, not biting the bait, and I think they're mostly happy to match this economic game with the lead that Radon has. Like, Luna's a scary hero, but she's scariest when she's ahead of your carry.
Yeah.
And their stacks to back it up. This is kind of the flip. This Piranha's way out ahead. This Gleipnir is done. On top of Yasha almost completed, it's going to be basically done off these stacks. It's going to be a scary team fight when Radon gets active, but they're going to find the opening.
Tornado interrupts some of that, but Maposhka still dies. Now, they take the 1 kill and get out. The EMP is enough zoning. They are not going to be able to, well, maybe they go back into it. The stack is still being cleared here. Threatens the overgrowth, doesn't release it, though. X-Nova is able to cancel that in time.
Would have been a huge pickup. Got to take advantage of the lack of dispels while you can in this early game. At least G2IG gets something aggressive done with this ward that was there for that entire period.
Yeah, they get 2 creeps and 1 hero.
I mean,
not the best, but not the worst.
This ward has lasted the full duration, and that's kind of all they got off it. Early Yules for collapse, I kind of like it. Some more interrupt for the Primal who goes in. You can waste his Blade Mail duration. Another catch and set up for the Void Spirit, which is the biggest thing here, right?
Yeah. I think getting into this fight looks impossible for the Primal Beast until he has BKB.
It looks really difficult. I mean, this is part of the Dark Willow pick, right?
Yeah.
Just make these 2 initiators' lives miserable until you go ultra late.
Yeah, like how do you get into a fight? How do you charge into a fight when there's brambles on the ground, there's tornadoes flowing around, there's a potential arrow, snowball pickup, and then, of course, the Yules now for collapse.
You buy BKB.
You buy BKB, and that won't be for a while.
At least JT has recovered a bit of the net worth gap. I was worried about him with that 0-3 start on the lane.
Yeah.
He really got abused by that Mirana Tusk lane, which is no joke. And something G2IG are going to have to think about, like there's a lot of damage amp in this Team Spirit lineup. Drinking Buddies, Alacrity, plus Solar Flare. Even this Mars is going to be potentially hitting pretty hard in these fights.
See, just Laurel's presence via Ghost Walk is making G2IG skittish, and not skittish enough, it seems. JT is going to have his charge away canceled. Now he's caught inside the arena. Another victim of the Laurel Invoker, just continuing to hunt around the map, enabling every single play from Spirit.
He just terrorized him.
And now they're high enough net worth on Radon that they can make plays without Laurel. He sets it up with the Gleipnir. Hits out their Solar Flare. Collapse is going to get the pin here in bottom lane, but there's mass TP rotations coming for him. He's going to get bailed out. Nothing to say.
No jump.
He's on the run. Spotted. Just a little bit of vision. Somehow that spear doesn't quite pin to anything there, but he has no escape mechanisms left. A lot of heroes came down here to help out Collapse with that kill, but it is well worth it because Nothing to Say was, well, he has continued to stay at the bottom of the net worth. This is a Void Spirit that doesn't seem to be scaling at all, Avery.
It's just too defensive right now on the map. Team Spirit picking them apart.
It just doesn't stop. Like, how does G2IG do anything in this game when there's just kill after kill every 30 seconds? They're getting hunted down in the side lanes.
Have to combine some heroes right now. Like, you have to create this 2 or 3 man hit squad that you can fire back and try and catch this Invoker on some sort of sentry obs trap on the map. Like, that's your best bet. You have to get Laurel off of the map right now. He is absolutely terrorizing you, and there's nowhere safe. It's forcing Monet into these awkward farming patterns. NTS is just going to continue to fall behind.
Yeah, their one trap that's kind of set up is this mid ward that they have with a couple of sentries around it, but Laurel's been playing in the side lane so much, he hasn't stumbled into any of these sentry setups from G2IG. An arena that misses.
Okay.
And perhaps an opportunity presents itself to G2IG.
Maybe you could smoke off this if you're G2IG. Try and get a quick pick off, combine your Void Spirit and your Primal. It looks tough though. Like, these early Yule Scepters for Team Spirit are just super heads up in this game.
JT pushes in the mid lane, tries to disguise this smoke a bit. Will also force a TP into mid.
Well, this is interesting. Spirit lingering towards this Roche, but it's 30 seconds till it changes sides. Otherwise, I think they would just do it. They might have enough damage anyway.
They're going to try. I mean, if they pop Solar Flare, they can probably burst it down. They have to scan on it, or are they willing to go through the gate? That would be a dangerous move, but it would be the best move right now, perhaps, because Roshan is going down. Man, just 20 seconds. That's all it took, thanks to Solar Flare.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
It's a nice window for them to hit, and didn't even get contested on it. That's the kind of area that I think G2IG would like to fight in. The Primal going into kind of a concave, then you have big AoE spells to back it up.
You know, I think the funniest part about that situation is, too, that the next Roshan, and very likely the Roshan cycle, is going to end up on the Radiant side. So even though they killed it on Dire's side, future Roshans will very likely be on Radiant, which is to the advantage of Team Spirit, obviously, with the Outpost.
They're building up a number of advantages right now. And they get to these big Dispel items between the Mirana and the Invoker, who are both going Mantis here. You're going to have another big item on this Mars for the next fight. I mean, man, it's starting to look difficult. See what Team Spirit can do with this Aegis. G2IG have kind of kept the net worth deficit a little controlled and are working towards their big team fight items. We'll at least split the Tormentors here. We also do have to, you know, continue to put some value on the defensive team fight for G2IG. If Spirit decide to push into a tier 2, for example, that is something they could set up around and maybe secure a good fight for Monet.
Sure.
It's likely going to have BKB done before then. If you can get the Primals on top of that, then you ignore a lot of the control out of the Spirit line. Again, the BKBs are the best point in this game for G2IG to turn it around. You ignore the Yule Scepters, you ignore the Dark Willow spells, you ignore a lot of the Invoker control. Arena doesn't matter. But you got to be able to find a big core target during those BKB durations.
Laurel, yet to get touched in this game, 6-0 and 2. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how he scales up. We've seen it once before where Laurel goes this right-click build on Invoker. And it is pretty intimidating that an Invoker can become a right clicker at 40, 50 minutes and stand up to some of the strong heroes, particularly with the number of buffs that they're going to be able to provide. Again, the Solar Flare, but also other things, right? You got Tusk drinking buddies. You're going to have some other buffs, I'm sure, that are going to be coming in. As unfortunately, we have just a little bit of a hiccup here. Hopefully, we'll be able to get back into the game quite soon.
Yeah, sometimes time stops for us all, Austin.
Yeah, an opportunity for us to be able to think about the way that G2IG can come back into the game.
You know, I was looking at these items, and if there's one player I enjoy watching more than almost any in the world,
I know who it is.
It is our good friend Baboka.
Baboka.
Need I even... Austin, let's play the what is Baboka building game. Austin, what do you think Baboka's building in this game? First item on the Phoenix. Can you take
First item on the Phoenix. Please tell me it's not something that does physical damage.
Is it Yules?
Okay.
Is it Pipe? Is it Radiance?
It's Radiance.
Is it Dagon?
It's Radiance, isn't it?
Is it? Actually, it was none of those. It was Hex, Austin. He's going first.
You can't go...
Which is actually pretty normal if you think about it.
Okay. Yeah, that meta was actually already set already, so, yeah. Rushing Hex. Baboka probably saw that Phoenix rushing Hex in the past and just been like, nice. Yeah. Just rush the biggest item you possibly can. Of course, if you don't know what we're talking about, we're kind of referencing Baboka. Maybe some of you guys haven't seen some of his playstyle. He's a madman.
Yeah, check it out.
This guy has some crazy item builds, such as MKB first item. Again, reminder, Baboka is the guy who's playing the 4 position. He's not a core, but he builds like one.
But he thinks he is. That's what's important. And that's the part you can take away with you to your games. Still, I think that's actually one of the differences I've seen in this team. So I feel like Baboka's actually, somebody sat this guy down and had a talk with him. like listen, dog, we're going to need some more, utility and control and like normal items out of you.
They just show like literally every other support in the tournament. And they're just like, you see what they build? Solar Crests, Force Staffs, Glimmer Capes. Why can't we have any of those? Why do I have a sniper who's trying to contest me for every bit of farm?
I mean,
building right click.
You know what happens, right? They sit down, they have a team talk about, what 4 positions are doing in the tournament, what they want Baboka to do on this team. And then he brings the receipts. He brings the XG games where he's like, look at Shinkyu. He's playing Basher Slurk. I told you. I was right all along. It's a carry 4 meta.
Mid lane, oh no, caught in the Yule Scepter chain stun. Nice combination from Mira and brings down the enemy mid laner as a result. The Yule's almost immediately paying off. He's had it for a couple minutes, but getting a pick off like that, Yule Scepter really just paying for itself on top of everything else it's going to do later on.
I mean, this is a great lineup for multiple Yules. You have Arrow, you have Invoker spells, you have Spear out of Mars, and you have the Bramble. You Yules anybody on any of these heroes and throw them into any of that control, it just gets chained off that. This is a very strong item in the meta. Once you get multiple iterations of it, yeah, New Spirit showing how useful it's been so far as G2IG are just trying to get to BKBs here, man. It has been a slog on the map, and they are losing space, losing a little bit of an advantage.
They've got one in the Luna.
Yeah, I mean, they need the Primal. They're going to smoke without it. They have the Mantle on the Void, but, man, this lack of Primal BKB is really going to hurt if you just commit into a straight 5-on-5. It needs to come from Monet in terms of the damage and the teamfight impact, and you have to land a good egg overgrowth here.
Team Spirit are already backing away. If anybody's paying attention, they'll see that Fire Spirits is pushing in the mid lane and nobody's showing on it.
Minute left on the Aegis, maybe dissuading Spirit from engaging on that head-on fight. Especially, you can just farm this Mirana BKB of your own pretty quickly here. Yeah. Continue to push the objectives. Another missed smoke from G2IG. I don't think any of them have landed this game outside of that one to the triangle that...
Where they killed Baposhka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not been a fast game for them.
No, not at all. I think it's been like a solid 20 minutes since they've killed a core hero, by the way.
I would genuinely be interested to see how much damage has even been done to Laurel. I don't know if that's a stat that exists, but like you were saying, he hasn't been touched. He might literally have not been touched this game.
Tempted arrow. Nothing to say, only has one step to go, and Radon can still chase after him. X-Nova is going to be behind him here. The Sunstrike's going to reveal him. They don't jump after it, though. Pop the Solar Flare because they've caught JT. JT does have a BKB. His first usage is going to be like this.
Oh, what an interrupt.
Oh, no! He gets interrupted. He may still be able to make it out of here, but it is not looking good. The BKB is done, and he disables to stop him. He is home free. Barely. I mean, talk about the BKB timing, using your first BKB charge just to stay alive. That's not what G2IG was hoping that these debuff immunity items can give them.
You're also sitting on this bottled amp damage, so it's... Again, you're hitting these small timings if you're G2IG, but you're just nowhere close to using them for anything here. This is a nice ward setup. Looking to snag a lone hero on the map, trying to get this bottom lane back out. Collapse doing a little setup of his own. Does have pipe. He's very tanky, but still can suffer to the solo eclipse or chain stun potential.
Got him on the ults again while the BKB is on cooldown, and a Bramble does land, setting up the arrow. Maposhka waiting to go for the chain stun here. Hits him with a Walrus Punch, and Radon, he can do plenty of damage. He can't get out of the shard. He's surrounded by Brambles. The Tornado will finish him off. They will be able to trade out for a support, but that is the best G2IG is going to get with this double damage.
Man, Radon waited out that entire Blade Mail duration, and this Primal still can't get out. You need like 4 staffs or something to bail you out of these little control piles.
Yeah.
This has been one of the roughest...
4 staff, you say?
This has been one of the
utility item?
One of the roughest games for JT I've seen in a long time, and I think he is, maybe for me, one of the most important pieces of the puzzle for G2IG in terms of their games being faster. Yeah. The team fights going their way. He's just found absolutely nothing. Your Team Spirit have shut him down completely in the first 26 minutes here.
Well, Team Spirit, they already have plenty of initiation between the Gleipnirs and the Yule Scepters that we're seeing, and an Invoker just running around, but they're going to get a little bit more soon with Collapse picking up a Blink. I also love the early gem pickup when you're winning the game like this.
Oh, there it is, Austin. The Hex.
He got it. And he's going to have to watch nothing to say, die in the side lane, but at least they have a Hex.
Is online.
If they could use this Hex...
I mean, you have to start.
Kill Radon.
This is a really strong item. Like, this is not a completely unorthodox Phoenix build.
No, not at all.
I've seen it work, but you have to make it work, right? You can't just like build up this huge expensive item and then not start to use it on the map. That's my concern here. If you don't hex anybody for the next 10 minutes, is it going to feel that great? You just let Radon get to BKB here. He did beat the record though, so that's pretty good.
Hey, good for him. I mean, how many of those other Phoenixes were building other items before Hex?
Well, how many of those were also Evoca? Got to think about this next, Roshan. If you can try and fight it here.
Still, I mean...
You'll have your Conda on the Luna, too. I mean, this has got to be the team fight, right? The Hex, the BKBs, the Conda, like, it's all online. You have your big ultimates. You're almost level 20 on the Luna, too. You're closing in on Void Spirit Ags as well. I don't know if you're going to have that for when this next skirmish breaks out, but like, this is as good as it gets for G2IG in the next minute or two here.
They are all, yeah, they are not that far behind, and they have hit their timings. It's just like, we haven't seen anything good happen for them outside of not dying in certain situations. JT puts himself out there. They immediately jump on him, but it's a bait. G2IG are going to try and follow this one. BKB goes off. If it was a bait, it wasn't a very successful one because Team Spirit, they managed to get out of this situation. Now they can focus back to JT, who is stuck inside this arena with no help coming from G2IG. Not a single BKB has been used for a good fight just yet. An arrow came a little close, sets it up. Wait, side turn around, they're going for it. The Eclipse goes out, but BKB, they turn around, kill the egg, no problem. No follow-up disabled from G2IG, and now they are going to be caught. A Spear Tornado, Terrorize coming out, does hit the tree. Nothing else. They're going to chase after that tree, see if they can get up. Nice shards from Maposhka. Man doesn't miss. Tries to hit the Overgrowth, knocked up in the air, tries again, gets it off. No, the snowball dodged the Overgrowth. What a play from Maposhka. Keeps his team up and ready to hit as they slaying, nothing to say. He's down and out with 4 heroes gone. Team Spirit went from a simple pickoff to 4 in a row to take maybe a full lane of barracks.
Oh, what G2IG would have done to land an Overgrowth during that egg.
And a 5th pickoff to go.
Oh, well,
G2IG, you went from staying alive in this game to I mean, this is looking a little hopeless now.
Just so many small things going right for Team Spirit and playing the fight super patient, willing to bait out these BKBs, poke until they get some response and back up. This is a type of team fight execution that gets you deep in lands right now, and G2IG just don't have an answer. There's no easy opening for them. I would love to see that fight again as well, because I don't know if the blink for Xnova was just on cooldown or what, but when you went in with that Hex egg onto the Mirana, that's in theory not a bad situation because you still have this overgrowth. But like we see here, the poke is just, you have to commit your BKB or you're just perma-stun from JT. There's no force stabs or anything to bail him out. So once you're there, you're just locked in and there's no help.
Yeah, now it feels like you need not just BKB on Primal Beast, but Blink Tech for hard initiation. Otherwise, it seems like Team Spirit's constantly kiting you. We'll see this play now. Scythe?
Oh, he got
caught in the bramble. Vera caught him in the bramble,
That's
and that
brutal.
stops the overgrowth, so no save.
Yeah, that's
for the
actually
A.
so brutal right there. But just a sick position from Mira on the side. I mean, the Spirit supports did some work in this fight to prevent a big turnaround from G2IG.
And look at this. Knocks him up in the air. He knows the overgrowth is coming. Snowballs.
Just nothing going their way.
Nothing.
So that'll be Roshan for Spirit here. An Aegis on Radon as he works towards a Lincoln Sphere. Another defensive item for the Mirana, but Cyril's universal, so no cares.
Yeah, and he's also hitting his big damage talents. The 15 talent, super important. Then you hit the 20 talent. Oh, it feels so good. Free crit.
To be honest, Cyril's level 25 is not bad either.
No.
Very favored at this point. It's going to need to be some sick teamfight execution.
Ooh, Tornado. Aim for nothing to say. Still hit Xnova. Because the invisibility, he is still going to be able to get out. And now another bit of initiation. Man, the mobility is just off the charts for Team Spirit. But now we have a blink for the Primal Beast. So now he can BKB, blink, and grab somebody. Maybe finally force Team Spirit into an honest brawl rather than this kiting that's always happening.
It just has to be Monet with the damage. Like, it's so much of your damage at this point. So if you jump in with these cores, the Luna has to be there with you.
Careful there. And Manta will protect you, as we saw from the last fight. When he got caught in a bramble, he had a Manta, and Radon was very quick in catching him on the Gleipnir immediately afterwards. These pokes from G2IG are not the same as what Team Spirit can employ.
Nope. This is a tough Miranda to jump. 3 minutes left on the Aegis, and Yule Scepters to back him up.
Look at that. Oh, the damage. Drinking buddies, Alacrity. Doesn't even need Solar Flare right now. He's holding that for the honest team fight, which may never come at this point in time, as G2IG is struggling to find the initiation. But they're the ones who get initiated on. Collapse makes a complete read of the situation, and JT is forced to give up on that wraparound.
So much for your flank. You're gonna have to take it straight up right now. And who do you want to jump? The Axe gets delivered for NTS. A bit more damage.
They need a way to be able to get through this Lincolns, but even then it's an Aegis.
Have to find this Invoker or supports. Radon is not a target I think you can just commit on here. I mean, they just look like they don't know what to do.
Yeah, they're gonna try again. And nothing comes of it. Elena Barracks with nothing gained for G2IG.
And you see the calls on the map. I mean, this is one more lane. Let's just walk it down. We still got 2 minutes on this Aegis. They didn't do anything there. Are they gonna do anything in the top?
G2IG, is there any more smokes for them to play with? They're gonna get, whoa! Oh, no! Wait! Is Team Spirit gonna, oh no. They can't even finish off that Tormentor. Look at them, they're trying to sunstrike somebody near the Tormentor, but they've already given up on that. They realize that G2IG is too weak to kill a Tormentor, and they've got 30 seconds with no Treant Protector.
No buyback, 300 gold short.
They're gonna smoke straight into the base while this is a 4 versus 5. And there's the hit. Go straight to the Luna. Walrus punch into Terrorize. A chain stun that takes him out of the game. He instantly buys back. The egg, it's dead as well. No disables to be able to stop this one. An arena that pins and catches JT, as well as nothing to say. Monet's just going to run in. BKB Eclipse. Hope for the best, but there is nothing you're going to get out of this. An absolutely picture-perfect execution from Team Spirit. Nobody dies. Nobody comes close to dying.
That is about as one-sided of a game you're going to get between two very established teams as Spirit just put on a clinic in this game one. And I feel like particularly Laurel just took that map over so early, just put a chokehold on him. He was in all three lanes, completely shut down the playmaker in JT. NTS has no supports with real damage to follow up on any sort of his early aggression. And it just completely snowballed from there. From start to finish to Tormentor, nothing was working for G2IG in this game one.
That's absolutely right. Nothing was working for G2IG.
It is a rough one right now if you're a G2IG fan. However, Team Spirit, oh my goodness, everything connecting for them. All of these early rotations to the side lanes from Lal looking fantastic. I mean, the Mirana lane as well was off to one of the best starts, if not the best starts we've seen for this Mirana lane. And even with how fast a Luna can farm Winter, it wasn't enough to catch up to that early game she was able to have a Mirana.
Yeah, it was quite surprising that he got off to such an advantageous start against the Primal. I didn't expect that lane to go so well. But I think when it came down to the making sure they won the lane, or if you're G2IG in this case, you lost the lane. And I just felt like they were kind of playing three lanes, you know. I think in Dota, whenever you're losing the early game and you have two of your side lanes not going so well, you need to kind of sacrifice one side and try to help on the other side. That's what I feel they should have done this game, instead of like trying to sit in your own lanes respectively and trying to farm. That's why JT kind of got caught by, I think, Lao's couple of rotations. He died in the lane, in the jungle.
So many times.
Just by being alone because he was trying to recover.
Yeah.
When I felt like he actually needed to, even though he's having a hard game, but he needed to just go with the supports and go make a smoke and go to a lane and just kill somebody. Like, that just needed to happen, you know, because he was so bad, you know, the early game.
Yeah. I feel like every time we see a good Invoker play, which, you know, this is the road to the International, so naturally it's going to be good Invokers. It's like one person just being absolutely pestered by this guy. Cameras on one side of the map, we see JT dying to Laurel on Invoker. Cameras on the other side of the map, all of a sudden Laurel shows up and he's setting up on him. And I can't tell you like exactly what it is. Probably part of it is the fact that Invoker can now invoke during Ghost Walk, so you can have multiple spells invoked for that, and so it's like easier to Ghost Walk around the map and play this sort of play style. Also, Ghost Walk gives you regen now, so if you're gonna go through the portal and like play really active, Invoker doesn't have to go back to Fountain a lot. Like, he can sustain out on the map and stay out on the map. But it feels like I can kind of understand, after watching some of these Invoker games and these good Invoker players play it, why the win rate looks so high in this tournament.
I feel like Law was definitely getting away with a lot more than he should have, though, and maybe part to that fear is there wasn't any early detection coming out from G2IG, and that's not just a support thing, okay? Everyone can buy detection, so we shouldn't look at it being like, oh, those supports, they didn't have it. No one on the side of G2IG had it to stop those early rotations where he's just ghost walking out and he's getting to live for free.
Yeah, but it's 50% worse if the support doesn't have detection.
Definitely, I do agree with that too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think this game as a whole, not only that, but in the clip we just saw before, where we're swooping with the Phoenix using her Hex and Egg on the Mirana, but you're by yourself. It was very not the cleanest game from IG, and they need to really get on the same page. I think that's what it comes down to here. And JT really felt disconnected from the entire team. They didn't have detection. Maybe they haven't played versus Invoker in a while. I mean, in the past, you'd be like, oh, Mirana, everyone by detection, but nobody gets that fast anymore. But you are playing versus Invoker. This hero loves to be invisible. They need to get detection. JT disconnected from the team, but Boca just going in and trying to solo kill Radon in the late game as a Phoenix versus a Mirana. Never gonna work. You gotta use your spells together as a team. And that's something that Team Spirit did really well. but G2IG very much lacking in this game. And I do like the fact that Team Spirit gave away a strategy in which they lost to 2 times in a row, 2 Nouns, which knocked them down into that lower bracket, playing versus the Luna Tree. They found a response. It seemed to work pretty good in this game number 1 here. So good news for Team Spirit fans so that they can learn and adapt. And this has always been kind of their bread and butter.
This Dark Willow last pick, played by Mira here, coming up on our screens. A lot of impact, a lot of assists, 84% kill participation there. And Jenkins, when it came out in the draft, you said that you really liked the Dark Willow to help the offlaner get through that early few levels. That is where Mars can see the weakness, but Dark Willow, she has this great early game. There is a lot of damage that comes out from even just level 1 Bramble Maze if you can land it and get it right.
Yeah, the damage was something that was definitely important. A hero like Primal Beast, you know, he has the highest strength gain in Dota, and I like that the Invoker can just drain his mana and then kind of leave him alone, and he's kind of rendered dead in a way just because he has no mana. His mana pool is very low. But a lot of the time, Collapse was running around and catching JT on the Primal Beast. He was able to kill him with the help of Laurel and Mira. Like, they did not lack the damage at all. And even the Brambles in team fights, nothing to say, playing Void Spirit, you know, JT, playing Primal Beast. Like, these are heroes that get in there. Even Tree is, like, trying to get in there and use the Overgrowth, especially with the Phoenix Egg. Like, you want to pair these things together. Against all the Brambles, it's so hard to run in. There's Arena, there's the Brambles down. It was not an easy game for them to come back from. Maybe if the early game goes a little bit better, they have items like, let's say there's a Blink Dagger on the tree, then it's a different story, right? You're not walking through the Brambles to get into the fight. But given how the laning phase went, the game looked almost impossible to execute for G2XIG.
Yeah, here's that mid laner that we keep referring to. Lal here on the Invoker. He's 10-0-11. I actually thought the kill participation was going to be slightly high just because every time I looked at the screen, oh, there's Invoker. He's involved in it. There's Invoker again somehow.
He was starting it on pretty much every fight.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how the hero works now. You don't have many good farming. I'm elaborating. You don't have any farming or wave shoving abilities, right? So you are forced to go run at heroes, cast your abilities on them, and get kills. And he does that incredibly well. You see he builds into right-click items. We see a mix between the Witchblade as well as the Mage Slayer as well, depending on what you're playing against. Both of them leave a dot, so it helps with your cold snap. Both of them give you attack speed, so you attack a bit harder, and you can scale. So this hero is really meant to just run around and find those kills. We still have yet to see a game where Invoker just fails to find these kills, and that's where this hero really falls behind. And we see Midas of the past, people going for that item, not so much anymore. You're just building these stats, getting these right clicks in, and you're doing lots of damage, and it's looking like this hero is getting more stock as we get further into this.
Yeah, it's really, really good with the Mirana, though. I feel like that actually made the hero so much better. Because oftentimes,
and Tusk, like, just the Alacrity, the Tusk Bust, the Solar Flare, they're finding new ways to, like, stack all this damage.
Yep. You kind of want to find more ways to abuse the right click with this new Invoker, you know, and with Mirana and with Tusk, I think it just makes the hero go on to another level, and you see the impact, you know, after. Because oftentimes you see Invoker, they are very, very good in the early game. They rotate around, but they get to a point where they run out of damage, right? But with those heroes in the pool, the hero does not run out of damage.
Yeah, we talked about, you know, how this draft has lended itself to that late game, that Marauder having a good start. But let's actually have a look at that earlier part of the game. Hopefully we had the clip ready. It was around the 7-minute mark for yourself here that you were like, this, in your eyes, was where you'd really seen Spirit come together to be able to make those rotations, to look at their off lane and try and put it in a great position. It also was almost what you wanted, Jenkins, a 5v5 around the 7-minute mark.
I mean, I'm always down for some 5v5 Dota. Fear, I'll let you take this one.
Oh, sure. I mean, I just mainly add this because it's funny, but this fight was actually really important as well, too, because it's a 7-minute mark. All the supports were TPing in. We talked about the Wisdom Room, getting the levels and experience here, really important. Laura was the first to rotate here. Helps out, gets a couple kills, really important. You'll see Nothing to Say also rotates, but he's a little bit late to this. You've lost a bunch of heroes. Laura was pretty happy in the situation. They bait you in. Now you're in a situation where you're just a little too deep with Luna here. And regardless if this Shard gets Luna stuck here, which is pretty funny to be honest with you, it still would have died, right? But very unfortunate there for Monet. They bring multiple heroes there. And even after this fight, they kept fighting over and over and over again, using the skirmish power of this Tusk, which is why it's so powerful right now. We talked about this Phoenix and Tree, cooldown dependent, very heavily favored for their ultimates, but at 7 minutes into the game, they're pretty useless, right? Where this Tusk is going to take advantage of it.
What is the Drinking Buddies cooldown, by the way? I don't actually know that.
Back to you, Winter.
Not a very long time. I don't know the exact cooldown.
No, if you didn't know, that's fine.
Is anybody on this panel honestly a Tusk player?
No.
I do not play Tusk. Okay, fair. Yeah, I do not play Tusk.
I just feel like, sometimes we see the way the teams draft, they want to have those longer engagements, and then they have a Tusk there as well. And it just feels like I've seen Drinking Buddies used like 6 times. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but
Maybe 8 actually.
it might be. It might be a lot of times during a team fight. And so I'm wondering, is the cooldown so short that you'll find to actually take those longer fights now that you have a support like Tusk that can reposition you just enough that you're able to get off a whole nother set of spells.
I got a feeling that even if the cooldown is longer, I'm still gonna want to play Tusk right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you just do so much with the Drinking Buddies that
15 seconds.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jenkins.
The alt cast, the distance,
something.
you get to reposition yourself so much. It's just so valuable in the game. You have a BKB piercing disable, you have a save, you have the shard block. You're just very useful.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that it does many Drinking Buddies in general does 2 different things. I think if it was just the pull and the move speed, it might still be a good ability.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing it used mostly for the pull. I'm going to be honest. I was watching this. I didn't even know that it did damage because I thought that was the thing that got removed when you lost tag team. It's like there's got to be some sort of downside, right? But the downside is that you can only use it on one target. But usually a lot of the time you use tag team, you're using that on one target. And I guess you're losing also the slow from the tag team, but also the heroes that you're going to be using it on. The slow is very useful for laning, but outside of that, not so much.
It's just more practical all around. It's just the ability to reposition yourself. I was watching the mid fight, right? There's no Tusk on my screen. And then all of a sudden, Tusk comes flying in because the range is 900 on that, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I feel like the moral of the story here is if you're going to play versus a Tusk, maybe the supports you need to pick need to be a little bit faster. And I feel like that was a big part of this game.
You know what? Back to what you just said. I think they're picking the Phoenix because of the Tusk. Because Tusk, like in the lane itself, you tag team, or you Drinking Buddies and you want to right click, and Phoenix kind of stops that. So maybe that was their idea of it. But when you pick it with a Trian, they're both kind of the same kind of hero in the later stages where you're not very useful, when you don't have your ulti.
I feel like the scaling is also quite different compared to, on one side you have the Tusk and the Dark Willow. We can see that the Dark Willow is able to scale. That's just something that this hero likes to do. On the side of Phoenix and Tree, who's really going to kind of be that pseudo core when you do go into the slightly later part of the game?
We kind of always talk about having the right balance with the support duo, and Phoenix and Trian kind of feels just very, very similar. They're very the same hero in a way, They do the same things, and they kind of want someone else to not take farm, and just like a Tusk, run around and just get work done,
Yeah. Very quickly before we jump into this game number 2 draft, this is specifically only for you, Jenkins. Can you help me visualize how big 900 units is in Dota?
Yes. So a Pudge Hook is 1,200 units
At max range.
at max range.
What's the minimum range?
Is it 1,500 with the facet?
Yes. And so take that and then divide it by, or multiply by 3 quarters, and that's 900 units.
You might have done that in the worst way possible.
I visualize range in Dota through Pudge Hook length.
I thought you were going to say something like, if you were standing on one side of the river, it goes all the way to that tier 1 tower in
Just
the
use
mid.
the panel.
No.
The full Pudge Hook is you to Jenkins. And
Okay,
tag team is like somewhere in between.
It's you to Winter.
That's tag team. All right. Well, you didn't help me at all. If anything, I feel more confused about what 900 units
Pudge Hook
in
is
Dota
also
looks like.
1,300
I can
range.
help you.
I was
You
wrong.
were wrong.
I was even wrong about how long the Pudge Hook is.
I don't think your maths was even right. So please, thank goodness there is a game number 2 dropped on our screens to save us here, because an Omni Knight is coming out for Team Spirit. They're showing a little bit of versatility here of saying, we got more different openers in our back pocket here. Tusk is what they opened with last time. Omni now, G2IG responding with that Doom that hasn't been working out for a lot of teams at the moment.
It's a cool pick, though. I mean, I brought up the question just last series, actually, about I thought Omni was very simple. Shout Aim and Band, pick Omni, a lot of teams weren't doing it. Spirit's doing it. Now I see this Doom response like, oh, yeah, that hero's pretty good versus Omni too. So I like the response a lot to Omni. Omni has not been a hero so far that we just see it in the game. Like, this is unstoppable. Like, this hero just can't be beaten. And I feel like a couple of things you need to play versus Omni. One is a Dispel. Doom does that. And he does even more to that. And he just makes it so you can't heal that target whatsoever. So kind of covers a lot of the things that Omni likes to do and shuts it down.
But also, you can repel the guy, and then they can TP out, or they can escape out of the fight, and the repel cannot be purged. So I do feel like it can go both ways. But then on the flip side, Doom has a really obvious target in the Omni. If he can ever Doom the Omni, that's the correct choice.
Am I correct to say that if you're a Doom, you don't really care about the Omni in the lane as much?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah, because I feel like I did a little bit of investigation on Omni and how this hero works. Depends what you pair it with, right? Of course. But if you leave him alone, Omni's Degen Aura, I don't know what the facet's called. I'm not even going to guess this time. But basically, when you put the Degen Aura on them and you right-click them, every second that they're under Degen Aura, it increases your damage up to 20%. And if you can stay on the Doom, your right-clicks, your Hammer, Purity, these spells are going to just like do lots of damage over time. So it should be fine in lane as long as you pair it with position 4 that can help him get out of the laning stage. Snapfire has been one that we saw pretty successful. Maybe you can go for the Dark Willow, but I'm not a huge fan of Dark Willow versus Omni. Some ranged hero that
Hoodwink
can
versus Omni? Is that a thing?
It should be good.
Seems fine to me.
Yeah, there's Skywrath. All right, that's going to be their choice there. Another Silence. Something that Omni doesn't like playing against. If you can target him in the back lines, that can help a lot.
And in the lane, the slow. So you stop him from bullying the Doom, you get some distance out. I mean, it's not a hero that we've seen a lot. I think the only other team that played it was Schofield on Heroic. I think no one else has picked this hero. I could be wrong. Because this hero is very, very hit or miss. Like, you really need to snowball so hard. If you don't snowball hard, the hero just doesn't really do much later in the game. You're like a single target focused hero. You don't provide any CC in the team fight until you get your Axe and... You know, in ultra late game.
We did see Gaming Gladiators pick it up. So that's the most notable game for me when I see Skywrath right now on the road to the International is Gaming Gladiators played it in their series against Nouns, not yesterday, but the day before. And what it was really good at doing was just bursting the Alk. So it was really good for that. They would silence, and then the ultimate would go down. I think also it's great for lane harassment if you're able to keep your mana up there. He is very mana hungry, but it feels like I say that for many heroes lately in this patch.
I have a prediction for Spirit. I think they're going to pick Kunkka.
Wow, that was genius. Round of applause.
Thank you. I was actually going to say
Why do we let him talk?
They did not pick Slardar. But if you're a Skywrath mage, the worst things for you to deal with are summons. You do nothing to summons. You're paper thin when it comes to armor, and minus armor, physical damage, that sort of thing. However, the cool thing about G2XIG picking the Doom and the Sky together is that Doom kind of counters a lot of the summons heroes because you can eat a creep. So you are block picking it in that sense. And then we talked about how they can kind of combo together pretty nicely in the laning phase. And Sky has enough damage that a Doom target will 100% die. Even if they walk out of the Sky ult, like, it's enough initial damage to kill that target.
Very curious about this pick coming up here, but I have a feeling that Yatoro is single-handedly trying to raise this Mirana's win rate up. So he's the only one that's really winning with this hero right now.
As carry. Everyone else
as a carry, yes, that's specifically as a carry, as he is a carry player and not a support player.
Well, I'm just saying the Mirana overall win rate isn't that bad. As carry, it was, what, 46%?
Sure, I misspoke. He's trying to single-handedly raise the carry Mirana's win rate.
Thank you.
This tournament.
Thank you.
That was on me. Viper is picked out now. This is a hero that is very good against Dragonite. You can break the armor and all of his passives. The Cleave, which is now his passive, and then he has the Innate, which is also considered a passive that gives him armor and regen. So breaking both of those is very nice to do, as well as having a pretty comfortable laning stage too. And I think at this point you just run the DK carry now. But I guess you have the flexibility between the Kunkka and the Viper. They could switch to offlane or mid, but I think at the end of the draft here, you don't really know. So you kind of have to make your best guess if this DK is going to be swappable. And the only way you can do that, though, is if G2IG also picks a hero on their last pick, that can be carry or mid.
Yeah, that's a very, very tough one, you know, for G2. I think this is really nice to have this type of calls where you can swap around. Gives you a big advantage when you don't have the overall last pick. Now they just need to decide whether they want the Mirana as a 4 or they pick him as carry and pick another 4 to lane with either the Kunkka or the Viper.
I've got it. It's not a Monet hero, but Nature's Prophet. Unpicked, unbanned. Good at carry, good at mid. Although we keep saying it's good at carry and we barely see it. It's mostly a mid.
Yeah, I like it, Jenkins.
I like it, Jenkins. That's a good suggestion.
I want to know more, Jenkins. You have to convince me a little bit, you know? I'm not as fooled so easily.
Good against
You're
the
calling us fools?
It's good against the Viper in lane. You do lots of physical damage. You can out CS him. If he harasses you down, you can simply TP away and then TP back. Full HP, full mana. Same thing goes for in a side lane. I think against Kunkka, you would also probably be more than comfortable if they swap the Kunkka to mid, for example. But mainly it's the Viper matchup that I really like.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be good here. We'll see what Spirit wants to do with this Mirana, but I think I know this Yatoro guy by now, and I'm pretty sure
he's playing it.
He's playing the Mirana. He doesn't like hyper focus on heroes, but he definitely has his preferences, and he believes that Mirana is very strong right now, and he can pick it early in the draft, and until he loses to something that changes his mind, he's probably still going to play it.
So you say they need like a melee support just in case the Viper wants to go off lane?
That's an interesting question. They need a... It's hard to say, because if you pick a melee support, you put yourself in a strange position, because Omni 100% is going to the safe lane. So
Bat Rider would have been great, because it's kind of like pseudo melee.
yeah, some pseudo type of hero would have been perfect there. And Marcy's... I don't know. I don't think they necessarily 100% need a melee support, but having an additional stun of some sort would be good. And a melee support it will be. And I think this makes me believe that Viper needs to go to that off lane, because Clockwork Kunkka was not a very scary lane.
It's not the best lane.
It's not the best lane.
I would not be trying to run that lane.
Throw DK mid against the Kunkka, and Viper's there. It's not great, but you'll survive, right, at the end of the day. And then now pick something as your carry that's much better against the Viper. Wind Ranger comes to mind, but that has to be banned, right? And it's not.
It's actually not.
Wind Ranger looks really good here.
It was completely ignored in game 1.
If they want to go with a Monet Classic, I know that people really like TB against Viper, because you...
Forbidden hero, even Radon.
Can you make it work? TB, Doom, Dragon Knight, Tricore?
No.
Wind Ranger.
But it's Monet. He likes it.
Wind Ranger.
Luna is still in the
Wind
pool,
Ranger.
too.
Yep, Wind Ranger. Wind Ranger seems like the...
I'm just throwing out options. I also think it's
We're
Wind
just
Ranger.
gonna say hero names.
Because Wind is
Acceptable.
Wind is a hard, like, you hard counter Viper in lane. So, because you can't hit him. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Wind Ranger actually gets a 100% evasion when he uses the Wind
Ooh.
Rune.
Really?
Very good against
Really?
Viper.
How long
And
does that last?
5
depends on
seconds.
the level. 6 seconds at
What
max
does level 3 Wind Run?
That's 5 seconds.
Very good.
I don't know if this man is
3, 4, 5.
gaslighting us or if he knows, and that's
It's
the hardest
3, 4,
thing
5,
about
6, I
working with
think.
Jenkins. Should have left out the I think. I would have believed you. Because it turns out I am easily fooled.
I'm not a gaslighter.
Wait, you just said you aren't easily fooled like us, like both.
Yeah, I was gaslighting. I learned it from Jenkins. They got a lot of reserve time here for their last pick, which makes me think either they're overlooking the Wind Ranger, maybe they see something that we don't about its downfalls, or just trying to use up all that time to have a conversation of how to execute their lineup.
It's tough, you know. They're definitely worried about the DK into Viper matchup, and they kind of have to pick something that can be moved around, you know. And now the interesting thing to see is who picks which hero.
Yeah, that's the other thing we didn't mention. Both these heroes could go either lane, but I really think you're okay with the fact if they do a Kunkka Clockwork lane, because that's just a free lane for the Wind Ranger. And sure, maybe your mid might struggle a little bit in this matchup, but you have high regen, and eventually your team will come and help you. And hopefully your Wind Ranger, who has free farm, is going to be killing that Viper in the mid game to kind of get you back into the game.
Yeah, it's Kunkka Clockwork.
It sure is.
I mean, circle on circle action. That's not that bad. Clock can,
Make a
cog
circle,
and
and Tonka can make another circle.
you put
on
the
top of it.
circle, right? And then the boat comes out as well eventually.
That's not a circle though.
It's
That's
like
more like a rectangle.
it's like close to circular. It's very close to circular.
Any other analysis though outside of circles that you would
Winter?
like to?
No, the circle is great. I've learned how to make a perfect circle from Jenkins.
Really?
Perfect circle.
Great. Is it going to go full circle here? And we're going to have G2, I almost said the name wrong, G2IG taking game number 2, or is it just Spirit through and through that my panel is on the side of?
I mean, I'm a little worried for this Wind Ranger taking the game over. However, I believe in Laurel making Nothing to Say have a terrible game, and I said it the last game, I don't like this team when Nothing to Say is having a rough game, and he's gonna have a rough game. So Monet, he's got to put his try-hard hat on here and just carry this game, because a lot of eyes are going to be on him to just get the farm, make some rotations.
I don't
Okay,
think they have
so-
the budget for a mid DK and an off-lane Doom.
I really like the wording for
That's
that.
that's a good concept.
Yeah,
actually.
they just don't have the budget. There's just not enough allowance to go around. Jenkins? We do have time.
I like Sky plus DK. I think this is one of the easiest to execute ganking combos. Your back is against the wall. You want to get some kills. There's infinite damage disable from this. The Doom is great at killing any carry in the late game. Like I do.
Okay, you're monologuing too much. Thank you so much, Jenkins. Though we got coach interview, which is going to be way more enjoyable than listening to him finish his sentence.
Thank you very much, Nat. Yes, indeed, I'm here, son. How do you feel his job went? Everything go as planned?
I think mostly yes.
And what about the last pick, Wind Ranger? Is that something you anticipated and you think you have the answers for?
We was thinking we could pick that, but they should now. They put the DK mid into Viper. It seems not good, and I'm feeling okay if we go Kunkka against Wind Ranger. We already played like this a lot this tournament, and it was comfortable for us. So, feeling okay.
Feeling okay? Well, that's very good. And finally from me, about the Mirana, the back-to-back Radan Mirana. Do you think it's going to be the same as game number 1, or do they have better answers for it this time around?
Sure, we have good answers. Mirana Wind Ranger also. I'm not sure who is stronger, but I'm just confident in Radan's Miranas, and it's good against Doom. So I think should be okay for me.
All right, I'm glad you have the confidence. We'll see how this game goes. The Mirana versus the Windrunner. Let's get into it with Cap and SVG.
That's right. It's also the Viper versus the Dragon Knight, which Silent was very polite. Said, not good. Laurel looking to terrorize the server once again. He did it in game 1 off of his Invoker with the constant rotations that he was doing it. This time around, it's going to be a little bit more immobile hero, but he's still going to be terrorizing the laning phase, or at least that's what he's hoping to. Dragon Knight versus Viper. We'll see how Nothing to Say is able to weather the storm against that.
Early laning shenanigans from
Yeah.
Hero to get this double melee lane off to a good start. We saw the sentry placement try and win the lane equilibrium. And it'll be up to, well, not Monet, because he actually went mid, Austin.
Okay.
What am I seeing? And it's collapse mid. So this is
Yeah,
the old
they're
double...
swapping around.
Yeah, double lane swap shenanigans to try and dodge this Viper DK matchup. But Team Spirit, I guess they were double ready for this.
They really were.
Though I will say the Viper DK matchup in the side lane is... I mean, it's still not great, but it's not as debilitating for your game plan as the one-on-one mid.
Oh, certainly not.
But this is very uncomfortable, I think, for some of these players. I think you almost rather have your off-laner go mid than your carry a lot of times. I guess it depends on which team.
I mean, surely in pubs, if you don't get your carry position, you probably want to play mid.
I don't know, I'm just thinking about a lot of these modern off-lane players. Like, they all play mid when they don't get their role. Maybe I'm just thinking ATF, but
I think that
it'll be Radon going down first to the Baboka Skywrath mage putting in some early work here. And I will say the one thing I like about the G2IG lineup more than the previous one is they have a lot more early spell power and just kill ability. You know, like it just seems easier for them to make aggressive plays and try and do stuff of their own rather than that game 1 where it was all reactionary, very defensive. There was no damage follow-up for their initiators. Just felt rough. I'm just going to throw out the CS
Oh,
here.
come on, Collapse. That's unfair. You know he's winning in CS.
Oh,
he knows it too.
On TS.
2010, there's nothing to say. Damn.
Too good.
Just what I had been waiting.
Absolutely. too
Sick,
good here.
bro. Collapse. Getting props to Monet for his completely made-up creep score.
Now, would I mean, the real question here is, would NTS have given mid lane to Ame? That's the real question with
What? Of course he would have.
I don't remember it ever happening, though. I don't think I've ever seen Monet go mid once in my entire life. This is new territory for this team. Now, is this the time to bust this out in an elimination match, in an elimination game? It's a lot of pressure on Monet here. Like, not only do you have to carry this game with the final pick, not only do you have to out-carry the Radon Mirana, which is basically undefeated, but you also have to go mid in lane versus an offlaner in mid in a matchup you probably never played.
Yeah. And it's a matchup that it's already not going well and is probably favored to the Kunkka.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Very strange situation for him. I mean, this could be a very awkward game. Might just come down to who can skirmish better, kind of put the lane phase behind them. But so far, if you're looking at the CS, I mean, it looks pretty okay for G2IG, and they, again, dodged this isolated Viper DK matchup. Now, the one interaction I also want to mention in this game, as we're getting a couple stutters, this Omni Knight Doom, like we saw these two heroes get first pick for reasons, right? This Doom, in theory, can shut down the Omni Knight pretty hard. Like, you're throwing your spells into a carry hero. If you then Doom that hero, you just remove everything.
Sure.
You feel great, right? You also can't really repel a target after they've been doomed. It ends up being a kind of weird interaction.
Is he going to get pulled back in? Okay, he still has Fairy Fire, but he's in trouble here. He's just going to get run down. Collapse wins the 1v1. He was already winning in this CS, and now a full wave goes under tower that Monet is not going to be around to collect. This is where the pressure that you were talking about really starts adding up. As top lane, JT and Boboka saying, okay, mid lane's not going well. We're going to have to overperform in this matchup, and they are doing that currently. Now back to bottom, where nothing to say in X-Nova. Chase after Mira, who's just being a nuisance while the easy camp pull is going on.
So side lane's honestly going pretty well for G2IG here, and this top lane is getting massively
Silence into a snare. He still has one more leap to go. Moposhka's going to come back in, give him a bit of a heal.
They're getting forced off, though. JT is... I mean, JT is already having a better game than I think he did at any point in that last one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he's got a bracer, he's got boots, he's on the board. This is redemption arc right here.
Might just be. He wanted redemption out of this series in the first place. Chance to be able to eliminate Team Spirit like Team Spirit eliminated IG.
Oh, that's a beautiful creep right there.
Yeah.
If you're a G2IG fan, get that chain lightning going. We have seen this just demolish early games. Incredibly powerful spell.
He doesn't have the mana to back it up right now, like he can cast it once right now, but
Arcane Boots
do
coming.
you think about, yeah, he had Face Boots queued up, right? But now he's thinking about, okay, let's go Arcane Boots with this.
I mean, it's the same thing you used to go like an early Void Stone or the Tiara. What I always forget what that item's called, but you basically buy an early mana regen item if you get this spell, and it just ups your farming speed by so much. It's basically the fastest early farming spell in the entire game, as well as a lane dominator. So if you get the mana back up here on this top lane, which they did, you also want the arcanes for the Skyrath. It's honestly really nice on this lane. This is going to be a struggle for Team Spirit. They do not, I mean, you have some sustain, but Mirana does not like early spell harass. It's not the type of exchange that Radon wants to face here. It's going to be a situation where you just kind of go jungle earlier than you want, or ask for a gank. You could bring the Kunkka top.
Yeah, can you jungle this early before you even have Arcane Boots to be able to bump up as... not sure if the players are feeling the same little server hiccups that we've been feeling, but score is 2-1, 5 minutes in, and while the off lane has definitely won for G2IG, it looks like the CS continues to go the way of Collapse in mid. He's doing a respectable job. Another thing to talk about, Laurel on the Viper.
He's suffering.
He said side lane Viper is not very comfortable, and it's looking even worse. I mean, I watched this spree of games where Amar was playing Viper after Viper game in pubs leading up to TI, and he was losing every single one of them. So side lane Viper was not having a good time for him, and he's like the Viper side lane master.
I think this dodge was honestly very smart from G2IG. I do not think Spirit expected it. And even if Collapse is, in theory, owning mid, he's opened up a decent lead. It's not as bad as what's happening to Laurel in this side lane, where he's the poorest core out of the laning phase. He's getting his XP split on a hero that I don't think Spirit wanted it getting split on. And it's going to impact their overall strategy, because I think a lot of this Viper pick, the idea behind it was you wanted another semi-carry to benefit from the Solar Flare. If your Viper has a much slower game, he doesn't get levels as fast, it hurts some of that gameplay.
Meteor Repel going to be used
there's
as
the
first
Kunkka
sign of aggression. A Kunkka port forced out. G2IG, I mean, not really forced, because Radon was perfectly fine, but just a bit of aggression is all it takes.
He's going to force the dive. Does not want to let this TP go to waste.
And they will be able to bring down JT. So the TP was worth it. Even if it took a while, they do finally find that kill.
Yeah, an important one here for Spirit. Maybe you wish it was around that Wisdom Rune spawn, so you could just convert into that straight after. But still an important move to make for Collapse here to kind of bail out the pressure on that top lane. Not that it's going bad for Radon, but there was some explosive power there with a gate rotation or something. You'd rather make the first move and just secure it up, and now you have a level 7 Kunkka on the map with a rotation under his belt and that solo kill mid. Monet just running around. I mean, do you farm? Do you try and gank with this mid carry pseudo Wind Ranger? Some decisions for him to make that he might not be used to making here.
Yeah, like who are you going to play around as G2IG if you don't have a mid DK with high levels? Right? Like safe lane DK normally would just be, you know, farming away, and the rest of the team would be playing 4-man for until he gets like Blink Dagger.
I mean, you can gank this Viper too. If you're G2IG, you could bring the Wind Ranger bottom, you could bring the Skyrath bottom and just go on the Viper. It's a hero that doesn't like having numbers brought against him, especially if he's going to push up the tower, but it's Spirit bringing the other support here first.
Let's see if the TP rotations come out from G2IG to bail this one out, or if it's even needed, because it's just an Omni Knight coming through the gate. X-Nova may be in trouble, but the creep wave is going to help tank some of this battery assault for him, and now he's going to be fine. As it's going to be Mira the one to die here as Baboka does TP in. More gate rotations from Team Spirit. As Radon came through the gate, they're chasing after X-Nova. Might be able to get this kill, but it's certainly going to cost them. Silence dump. Maposhka barely gets off the heal in time. Radon pounces and does manage to get the kill, and nothing to say. Maposhka stays alive.
Once more, Team Spirit making the first rotations, bringing the numbers, catching G2IG off guard. Some painful death.
It's right away.
He's alive.
He is alive. Oh no. Arrow doesn't quite land. Torrent steps aside. No more stuns left. X marks the spot. It's on cooldown, so he does manage to get away. Team Spirit continuing to move. Mass number of heroes from side lane to side lane. It's the side lanes that have been a problem for G2IG. Not in the laning phase, but immediately afterwards, this constant aggression. They seem unprepared to be able to deal with it, with the Viper Strike being used. The X marks the spot, pulling him back into his doom. Nothing to say, is going to experience a slow death to poison. Monet here for the punish, but not able to do too much immediately off of it thanks to a whirlwind build-up. He can't get the immediate kill. A torrent lands on a two. That's beautiful on both supports. Nobody's going to die on the side of Team Spirit. The side lane's crumbling again for G2IG.
You're just getting outplayed. There's no way about it. This is not a draft issue. It's not a strategic issue. It is a skirmishing and an execution issue right now. And Spirit taking advantage of it, and especially Collapse. I mean, maybe they should put this guy mid more often. He has ganked both side lanes multiple times. Just controlled the entire map. He said, Laurel, I saw what you did in game one, but like, it's not that hard, honestly, bro.
I could do that too.
You didn't get the solo kill, so I'm going to add that to my ticket and, you know, try and get on my level here, man.
And away he goes, off of a haste rune.
He's
back
cruising.
to bottom.
That's a full blade mail in his stash, just waiting to come out right now. It doesn't even feel like he needs it. This is the type of game you play, and then you tell your mid laner to watch the replay afterwards.
You could learn a few things, man.
Take some notes.
Listen, I know what side lanes need, and you're just not making the fast enough rotations.
Yeah, you might be a TI winner, but I'm a two-time TI.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
2 for a reason. See how much of this momentum Collapse can continue to find here, and the rotations from Spirit have really been what's winning them these early games. G2IG, man, like, you are facing elimination in this tournament in a last place. You have to find some pace here. You have to find some moves of your own. I do not want to see this team revert back to the kind of passive defensive style we saw them get pushed into in that game 1. It is not going to work for this lineup.
No. But they don't necessarily have the best ways to make plays until they get a Blink Dagger on Dragon, right? Like, they do have a combination if they can get that Blink Dagger, Blink Stun into Skywrath Mage, all of his spells.
I mean, you have Doom, though, right? Like, you bring the supports to the Doom and you just Doom whoever's on the lane and lift them or slow them with the Sky. It should be a kill. You don't want to overextend into the Kunkka turnaround, but I mean, this is the kind of play that should work for them.
Catch Radon, Blink Dagger, doesn't hit you get a leap away. If he can get into the trees, never mind. That is too much damage with the Skywrath Mage getting his level 6. Collapse. Hits the punish. Hits him with the Torrent Boat. Boboka not dead yet, thanks in part to his Facet, making him a bit tankier, but they'll catch up to him, I'm sure. Collapse delivering sweet justice. Mira. He hits a hook shot into the mid lane. A Cox pushed back onto the Wind Ranger as the Wind Run is running out. Didn't last long enough for him to get away from Laurel. Spirit all over the map. Kill after kill. They get one on X Nova as well in the top lane. 3 in a row.
I think that is the correct play from G2IG, but again, you really have to be careful about the turnaround plays, and the find from Mira mid is just, it's even juicier here. Now Laurel gets put back into his mid lane where he wants to be. They're even going to get some stack steals here. Collapse's farm continues 503, 100 CS, level 11. Just going to go into the pipe. The man's not even greedy.
No, he's still going to build some regular off-lane items.
And now Laurel just going to get the siege mid tower like he wanted to this entire game. Dangerous positioning for Monet. You get X tier. Have to respect the levels on this Kunkka.
Yeah, he's level 11. He's got 3 levels of X already. X Nova trying to stop this. They make the initiation. Hook shot into boat and push back into the Viper. Beautiful stuff from Team Spirit. It's simple and it's easy for Spirit as they collect a tower and a kill. Once again, G2IG keeping their cores split constantly. They are in different parts of the map all the time. Team Spirit not doing the same. Are overwhelming G2IG with their aggression and group up power.
They're 100 gold off the DK Blink, and I can't really blame them for feeling like they need that to make plays. But man, it does feel like you're wasting a bit of the start Boboka had on the Skywrath Mage. He was really high level himself. He's had early ults in this game. This is a hero. Ideally, you're snowballing off of just chain killing on across the map. NTS's game has just been really slow, and I think Spirit did a better job of activating Laurel than G2IG have done activating this Dragon Knight. Maybe it's a lot simpler for them to do that with the lineups they have, especially with Collapse controlling the map more than Monet was able to.
Yeah.
But this is their time. You have the DK Blink, easy smoke up. This should be a guaranteed kill. Again, the issue is not the initial kill, it's what happens afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, also the initial kill, what is that initial kill? You didn't want it to be a clockwork, right?
Ideally, no, but you will take it here if it gets you a tier 1 tower, and there was no turnaround. So this is a successful move for G2IG. It creates some space for the Wind Ranger. Team Spirit want to take the defense.
Trying this one out. Trying to go for a Dragon Knight. Always a pretty tanky hero. The arrow coming off of that one is not going to land, but it doesn't matter. He had to dodge it and gets hit by a Viper Strike instead. Collapse, no stuns to stop that TP. And any future TPs seem to be fine as well.
Man, every time Collapse shows up to a fight, they are just bailing out of there. Amp damage on Laurel definitely helps secure that. But in the end, you don't get that tier 1. You lose your DK for that clock and the trade. That was your Blink reveal. The move once again stifled here from Spirit as the rotations continue to plague G2IG on the map. Still have Doom up, and you got a blink onto JT here.
This vision, great timing and placement as he sees all of these heroes from G2IG clearing out their own jungle. He will not be caught in the process. They also see the fresh blink dagger on the Doom. They see Doom himself, and they are thinking about going for it. Radon was not sure if he wanted to go on it, and the arrow missed as a result of that. Awkward timing. They're going to turn back around and quickly kill the Clockwork for that small mistake from Team Spirit. And it's, yeah, wow.
Is a big spell. A really big spell. I'm unsurprised to see him instantly smoke with this. Level 2 Solar Flare for a Wind Ranger lineup. To me, this is one of the ultimate combos of the tournament if you ever get it. Here you're going to get it without having to pick the Mirana yourself.
Bringing the Dragonite, bringing the Wind Ranger, but Team Spirit playing very far back.
They would love Radon, but Scan will hit as the Mirana backs up.
They're going to be running into a whole heap of heroes here. All 4 of them are here. They already got the Doom on the Kunkka, but they're retreating. They feel like they're not strong enough to fight in a tier 2 at 16 minutes in a game that they are behind in net worth, and Mira gets the punish off of this one. Not only are they going to be able to run him down, but it looks like maybe more. X-Nova does manage to dodge Collapse there. Pushing in deeper, the Dragonite stops for a bit of farm. Don't stop for too long, though. You're gonna get caught by the Kunkka. No, the X comes in. And now Nothing to Say will be punished for his greed.
His game continues to get worse and worse here. Every time you make one of these moves with a DK and it fails, it just costs him so much time on the map. And I do not think G2IG wanted to take a fight into a tier 2 position where everybody was ready. I honestly don't know if that fight would have been that bad if the Whirlwind just went through all of them with the Solar Flare buff up. Could have been maybe something there, but man, Collapse is just so tanky. He already had pipe done for that exchange. Feels like you're gonna have to bring this Kunkka down at some point in this game if you want to break the hold Spirit have on the map right now, as their lead continues to build 6K now.
They see the Clockwork setting up for the kill. They baited him to stick around. Maboka acting like a helpless, easy support to gank. But again, kind of similar to game 1, where the kills that G2IG are getting are support kills. They're not getting these core kills that would make a very big difference. You caught Radon that one time, but otherwise, Collapse has had a flawless game.
It is very similar. They're just trying to get some BKB timing and feel like they can then take the fight with those BKBs. But you cannot bleed as much as you did in that game 1. Spirit on the hunt. Feel very confident behind this Admiral. It's been untouchable. This Hurricane Pike on Laurel is also very nice. One of the biggest annoyances for Skywrath Mage as a hero is basically Force Staff and Glimmer Cape. Very simple, but very effective. You're looking at a lot of single target stun initiators for G2IG, and Shackle Shot, Skywrath Ultimate, Rubik Glyph, Dragon Knight Stun, Doom. Lotus Orbs, Force Staffs are going to be very nice for Team Spirit as this game progresses.
Pushing forward, X-Nova by himself. The rest of his team had abandoned that position. It looks like he really wanted to get to the secret shop to complete his item, which...
Well, he tanked the gank.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, guys. I tanked the 5-man gank, guys.
Intentional, I'm sure. Intentional.
It's a nice little setup here. You might... I mean, you're thinking about, like, if Mirana comes back, the Ancients, you just get that quick pick off and TP out. Spirit just continue to group, man. They are not giving freebies on the map. You might be thinking about another quick Roshan with this Solar Flare up top, like we saw that game 1. Very similar timing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the exact same play. Only they're dire this time.
Huh. This is really cool.
80%
Solar Flare makes
probability on a 4K difference. Okay. Gabe has made up his mind.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that bad.
Yeah, like, does Team Spirit really scale that much better than G2IG? Like, normally when you see that kind of lead, it means that one lineup is just going to massively outscale the other, and they already have a net worth.
I mean, it's probably inflated on the Night Pub stats, honestly.
Sure. Thank Sir Action Slacks for that one. They go from the Roshan to the Tormentor, using this Aegis to bully G2IG. take some of that net worth away from them.
I mean, I do like Spirit's position here in the game, though, just in terms of continuing to win the 5-on-5s. Like, their overall team fight strength together looks a bit stronger on paper.
Teaming in Mira first to set up for this mass rotation. It's the two supports, and then the cores, well, they're going to be a little bit late to it, but as long as the Kunkka's there, they've got the kill. And with no BKBs, any X marks the spot means death. Monet, what was he doing in the triangle here? Caught by Radon. Radon chasing after him. Monet doesn't have a win run to get out of here, so he's done. He at least was able to farm up his BKB, I guess.
I mean, he's stealing some camps, stealing some ancients, but Radon just steals where he is, man. Well, add a kill to the tally. Spirit continue to close out this map and collapse. Lotus Orb, talked about all the single target initiations here. I mean, it is just such a good item this game.
Do these three have the damage to do it? I guess
they're
so.
tanky enough.
Yeah, I guess it's less about the damage at this point, about the tank, and they will be able to do that much. So, double shard pickup for Team Spirit boosts them to an 8,000 net worth lead, with both of their supports getting their Aghanim shard, and 3 minutes left on the Aegis. They've got a lot to work with.
They're just getting so much utility online. You're gonna have Hurricane Pike, Solar Crest, the Lotus Orb, the Pipe, Glimmer Cape on the Clockwork already done by like the 22, 23 minute here. It's just so much kiting and utility to play around in the fight for a lineup that has to jump a target, kind of all in commit either Doom or Skyrethel to bring that hero down and then get a numbers advantage for the rest of it. If that initial jump goes wrong for G2IG in the fight,
hey, it's already gone wrong. The support getting picked off first, X-Nova. He's dead. Mira was not able to find another pickup, but the hook shot is at the ready. So if G2IG trying to defend this tier 2, very likely Team Spirit will force a fight. It's not what G2IG wants, so they give up this mid tower.
Well, Solar Flare on cooldown. I don't know if you can do anything about this opening. They probably won't.
So. If I had to guess, it's probably going to be G2IG splitting the map and farming, like they did in Game 1. It didn't work for them in Game 1, and I'm fairly convinced it's not going to work for them in Game 2.
Well, they just hit triple BKBs.
All right.
So they are going to make a play with this. These BKBs can be good. I think what it allows you to do is kind of ignore the Kunkka, try and find the supports, the Viper. If you can isolate him, you really want to get this Omni Knight tagged with a Silence or Doom or something at the start of the fight. And then focus down the Mirana if you can, since she's a lot of Team Spirit's damage.
And these heroes aren't nearly as elusive as they were in Game 1. They are tankier, and they certainly have way more sustain, but it will be easier for G2IG to start a full 5-on-5. Whether or not they can win it is a different question entirely, as another smoke up from Team Spirit is going to run into the lingering smoke of G2IG. It's X-Nova. With the leap steal, wait a minute, whoa, dodges the arrow. He's just gonna try and buy time. No, he's gonna go for the TP out. He is away. Wow.
Okay.
I can't believe he made it out of that. Well played.
Yeah, that was sick. Mad space.
G2IG could certainly use some of that.
Unfortunately, that was G2IG's triple BKB smoke that didn't land. So as flashy as it was, that was not supposed to be the time in the game where you were escaping.
Yeah.
Still more down this Aegis period, I guess. So you wait for this next DK form to be up, you make another move. No longer doing it into the 2 Mirana lives.
It's not like G2IG is upset if neither team is getting kills and they're both farming, right? Like the Dragonite scaling up. Like Dragonite, Doom, and Wind Ranger could all use a second item and start feeling pretty good about these team fights. You get the Shiva's initiation from the Doom. That'll add a lot. Dragonite, Wind Ranger obviously going to be scaling and physical damage.
Might come down to some clutch Rubik steals, honestly. Because the one spell you are worried about going late here is the Solar Flare. You got it once, but I think you're unlikely to get it again in some of the pivotal team fights. You might be able to get the boat, for example, though, or
Guardian Angel,
GA/Repel, which could be really impactful on your big meaty frontliners.
Yeah, if you get GA steal against Solar Flare, that is obviously a nice counter.
Yeah, that is good. No dispel on Spirit's side.
Yep.
So teamfight execution really important here for G2IG, whereas I think Spirit, they're just trying to get to the items, continue to ball up, pose a indomitable front line that G2IG just can't break. Like, oh yeah, you can doom the Viper, you can doom the Kunkka, but so what? Can you actually bring them down? That is a much more difficult task. And a lot of pressure on this Wind Ranger and DK to continue to scale up here.
Xnova being pretty bold with his position on the map, but that's because he still has that spell still lingering with the leap. And he will leap on out of there before Team Spirit can get their hands on him. Nothing to say, level 15.
Set up
He's
on
got
bottom.
Blink Dagger, BKB, and an Orchid soon. Back to bottom lane. Arrow, Gleipnir. The arrow doesn't land. BKB does go out from Monet and he TPs away. He's going to be... Oh, the hook shot. Never mind. Forgot the Mira was here as well.
Expensive death.
Very expensive.
And I mean, it's just been the story this entire series. It's Spirit setting up the plays. It's them finding the openings and bringing numbers, swarming initial core on these skirmishes and converting after it. They're going to push the high ground, maybe bring G2IG back, or at least cut the waves, secure more map control. They're continuing to scale. Like, they completely recovered Laurel in this game, and now he's just going to turn into a semi-carry beast with the solar flare to back him up. So you're going to have two of these turrets to worry about in the fight. Can't doom them both, and you have the Omni Knight Kunkka to worry about.
And they are going to make short work of this tower. With the shard on Laurel, they got to do something about this. Once again, G2IG are left inside of their base, impotent perhaps, as their Blink Dagger initiation doesn't do anything but set up for a death on nothing to say. The magic damage is working him right now. He finally has to use his BKB to stay alive, but that means that's just one more cooldown. And Team Spirit, just a clear runway for them to be able to go. Oh, Lotus! JT cancels his Doom usage, and he looks for another target, but he's not going to find it. Another BKB that's going to get cut around with a hook shot. Landing and a Cogs, keeping both of them in. Nothing to say, doesn't have a BKB, so he's going to die. And Monet uses his BKB, only to kill a Clockwork. Putting a little damage on Laurel, perhaps. Got him down to half HP. Lotus is protecting him for now. And Monet, he has the X on him, pulled back in. Torrent doesn't quite land. Yes, it does. The Gleipnir goes out. Finally, a Doom is used on a Viper, but the Viper is going to be able to kill the Wind Ranger. The Doom dies in response, and it just is all gone wrong in this series, not just this game for G2IG.
He was 10 HP.
10 HP. Not a single thing is going to go right. Team Spirit, they could have cleaned up this final building with 3 heroes, but a 4th one survives. And a Gleipnir goes out for snap. So Radon does not opt to go for that kill. Still an arrow. And some hopes and dreams is all G2IG have to work with. Nothing substantial as Laurel comes in, back in from the X marks the spot to go for a second lane.
Too disjointed of a team fight there. Your BKBs are all over the place. You're the one getting poked down. There just wasn't a clear committal here from G2IG. As like you said, this tournament is about to end for them if they cannot muster a defense.
Yeah, where was the smoke, mass Blink Dagger initiation, right? Where was the chaos? Gleipnir arrow. They gonna go for this? Laurel's gonna chase after him. Boboka. Just as they got all 5 up, Boboka dies. It continues to be a 4 versus 5. They continue to work not just against a net worth advantage, but also a number advantage for Team Spirit. Nice shackle shot on 2. Team Spirit trying to force G2IG out of the game already. Threaten tier 4s and decide maybe that's a bit too ambitious for now.
I think Collapse just wants to collect his items. He's got a lot of net worth flying in.
Aghanim Scepter for him, Lads for Moposhka, so even more of a damage upgrade for all of these turrets.
I wonder if you even wait and go back for Roche in this type of position. Or it feels like you're just winning every fight. Just continue to barrel down the lanes. You have so much utility, so much counterplay. That's why that jump from G2IG, now it might be too late, but it had to be choreographed together and it had to be in unison, so you caught multiple heroes when you went. You just go on this single target on the front line. He's going to get Lotus. He's going to get repelled. He's going to get Force Staff. He's going to get Glimmered. And like, Like this jump from JT, that Lotus is just immediately there. What are you supposed to do at this point? And the hook shot is just beautiful here.
Mira, fantastic performance on the clockwork in this game.
Absolutely locks them into a fight they no longer wanted to be in. I don't think any of these three cores had their BKBs overlapping with any of the others.
No, they happen. It was a 30-second window where 9-second BKB one at a time.
Oh, they're just smoking into the high ground.
Smoking at Team Spirit holding the high ground. They get a ward up there. Mira's gonna de-ward it. JT already finding himself slow. Nothing to say. He's going to try and stop it. He pops his BKB to turn around and do him up Radon. Radon is throwing out the damage zone. The Guardian Angel is put onto Radon. He is healthy as hell, and he'll not die to a nothing to say Dragon Knight. That'll never be enough. And nothing seems to be enough for G2IG as they will call it quits in not just the series, but the international.
A swift exit for them, not the place they wanted to be, and maybe, well, after this series, not the opponent they wanted to be facing, as Team Spirit came in and just absolutely dominated this series. If anybody was thinking this team was going to be shaken going down to the lower bracket, I think they've proven it wrong. This is going to be a very tough opponent for a lot of these teams in the lower bracket if they continue to go deeper and deeper, because they are absolutely terrifying. And for G2IG, they just never really found momentum in this season, right? It's been a series of ups and downs, and this will be another low point for them as they just could not get it all together when it mattered most.
Yep, and Team Spirit, meanwhile, they have an opponent waiting for them. It's going to be another Chinese team in Extreme Gaming. It's going to be waiting for them later on today. So we'll see how they perform in another lower bracket elimination. But for now, this series against G2IG is over at a 2-0.
Thank you so much, Cap Avery. And that's right, we will be seeing Spirit later. They're going to be playing in that final, the fourth and final best of three today to round out our playoffs. That'll be up against Extreme Gaming. But for now, let's talk about this game number 2. Spirit getting it in 2-0. First of all, let's just talk about the early game shenanigans, everything that was going on there, where everyone ended up with themselves winter, and what it actually meant for the later part of this game.
Well, I didn't know Spirit had 2 mid laners.
I mean,
That was the real pocket pick.
They might be having a discussion on making some role swaps after this game.
It's not player swap, but role swap.
Yeah, I mean, Laurel 9-0, Collapse 8-0. They both look phenomenal on their respective positions. And by respective positions, Laurel was the off laner this game, and Collapse was the mid laner.
Of course. Yeah, naturally. But what did it actually mean? Not only just doing well, but why exactly they changed up the lanes like this? Maybe even what lent confidence to be able to do this here?
I think they were just trying to avoid the Viper into DK mid lane. I think they were probably okay with Viper into DK in the safe lane. If DK was in the safe lane, because the lane's shorter, you can kind of not get abused as much as mid lane. That was probably what they were trying to go for, and Secret kind of somehow picked it up and they swapped their lanes. And they were like, okay, we can do it the other way around. We are happy with this, and I mean, Collapse this game is definitely like clearly the MVP. You know, he made so many good rotations. He won his lane. He solo killed Monet on the Wind Ranger. It's a good matchup for him, but he did really, really well. He went bot, he killed bot, TP top, killed top. Like, he was just everywhere. And for G2IG, I just felt like JT kind of didn't really get the memo about the budget. He farmed when his team got dove.
They don't want to go over.
Like, I felt like
someone didn't CC him in the email chain, you know?
Yeah, he didn't get the memo. So I felt like he needed to just come down and help, because his teammates, they were not having the best of times, and he was like the only one that kind of had a really good early game, and he needed to use that to get his team back into the game. You know, there was this one dive at bot, took 20 seconds to kill the Rubik, didn't come, and then another dive on bot again, but he didn't have Doom. You know, but I felt like the same thing should have happened. He needed to come even though he didn't have Doom. Like, Collapse did also the same move. He moved bottom when he didn't have both. He just came down, X mark, Torrent, started the fight. So he needed to match what Collapse was doing in the game, and he did not.
It feels like the two sides of the same coin here, Jenkins, where G2IG weren't really having the, I don't want to say map awareness, but movement on the map that they really needed for themselves, whereas Team Spirit always bringing numbers. It felt like they knew the emphasis had to be placed there for themselves and making sure these side lanes did well, making sure that they were everywhere on the map, but not only that, making sure that they had the numbers to go their way and to convert this movement into something, whether it's a kill, whether it's a spell usage, pulling out those BKBs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this goes back to the mid diff, and I did not expect to say this in a Collapse versus Monet mid lane matchup. It's very strange, but knowing how to make those rotations, which lane is important to rotate to, you know, if the lane is shoved, like, is it good to rotate to it? Do I do this with the rune or whatever? It requires practice on the mid lane. And Collapse actually does play mid in pubs. If you watch a lot of his replays, he will go mid. It looks like Monet, not as much as Collapse.
Yeah, that's tough. But look, either way, Spirit doing something a little bit different here. It's nice to see that we are seeing different things happening within Dota across 2 different series. But this best of 3 ends right now. Spirit are winners, and with that, they are joining Nomad.
Thank you very much, Nat. Yes, I am here with Collapse, the new mid laner for Team Spirit, apparently. How do you feel about your promotion?
I don't know how to say. First game I was an offlaner. The next game they just told me, you go mid lane, we have a new mid laner, and Laro goes for offlane. By the way, we just saw the Wind Ranger was mid and his item buy, so we decided just to let me go mid lane. And I said, okay, why not? I can deal with it.
And is mid lane something you've practiced with?